Town Council meeting here at Town Hall. We're going to go ahead and get started with the pledge, and following the pledge, if we can take about 15 seconds for a moment of silence for the passing of Oscar Baker, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Thank you very much, and good evening and welcome. First up on our agenda this evening is public comment, followed by presentations. Just by a show of hands, how many people would like to make a comment this evening? One. I see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you want a public comment? 9? You're not sure? I don't want you just to waive your time. Okay. If it is something that they have said, you can certainly come up to the microphone and just say, my comment has already been said. Please make note. Thank you very much. If the 9.
Mr. President, would it, not telling you how to run your meeting, but would you rather do the proclamation first? And that way Anna could come up to the podium and we can turn her loose?
Oh, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
So we're just going to hold public comment to do the presentation, and that way our guest can make her way. Sorry. Thank you.
Right over here. Test. Is that working? Okay, great. So we have with us tonight Miss Anna Stavely. Thank you so much for coming out. She is here to bring attention to National Recovery Month. The purpose of National Recovery Month is to bring awareness and understanding of mental health and substance use disorders and to celebrate those living in recovery. It's basically signified by going purple, but I'm going to let her talk a little bit about the cause afterwards. But we put together a proclamation for our town because in September we're going to go purple and help honor this event. And I'll read the proclamation for you. I'll let you hold it here. Okay. I just happened to make a copy of it. Whereas National Recovery Month is a national observance held every September to unify the community and reduce substance-related deaths and overdoses. And whereas mental and substance use disorders affect all communities, and whereas near half of all the overdose deaths involved a prescription painkiller, prescription painkillers are killing more people than car accidents and homicides combined. And whereas 1 in 4 teens report having abused or misused a prescription drug at least once, 4 out of 5 people who use heroin started with recreational use of prescription painkillers. And whereas the town of Mount Airy offers hope and resources, support for those active in addiction recovery and their loved ones, whereas the town of Mount Airy invests in the future of its youth through prevention education, and whereas the town of Mount Airy joins Frederick County and Carroll County in going purple, standing together and conquering addiction. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the mayor and the council of the town of Mount Airy, Maryland, do hereby proclaim the month of September as National Recovery Month and call upon all citizens, community agencies, religious organizations, and medical facilities and businesses to go purple to bring awareness and understanding of mental health and substance use disorders and to celebrate those living in recovery. And at this time, I'll let Anna say a few words, and let's just give her a hand right now for coming out and championing this cause.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members, for supporting the cause, as well as the town of Mount Airy. So everyone's probably wondering, what does Go Purple mean? Well, purple is the color of recovery, and the month of September is nationally known as the month of recovery. So we are asking our municipalities in the county of Frederick to join with us in a countywide campaign to Go Purple and support those that are in recovery, and also raise awareness as to how to identify those that may have mental health or substance abuse issues, and as a community, help us to come together to support these individuals and also get them the help that they need. So thank you. So we'll be decorating the downtown area with purple lights if some of the businesses would like to participate, and some banners. We'll also have a memorial featuring some photos of individuals that have passed from overdoses.
Okay. And then we'll stand over here and let Holly take a picture. Okay. All right. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for moving it up. Is this ours?
Yes, that's yours.
All right. We'll go ahead and continue with public comment. So if those 9 that were recognized can come on up. Doesn't matter the order. And 3 minutes, okay
Thank
with
you.
everyone?
That's extremely generous, thank you.
I appreciate that, thank you. If you would just state your name and then you may begin.
All right. Monica Mansfield, do you require the address?
No.
Okay. Dear council members, I'm here to express my opposition to the Green Tree Development Pre-Concept Plan, and to encourage you to vote no if there is a motion to approve the plan. We know the owner-developer will want to extend their special exception since residential is more profitable. There should not be a rush to approve this before it expires in September. I'm greatly concerned about the density of this development. The developer ignored one of the council and public's key comments by continuing to solely include townhomes with no consideration for detached starter homes. Their use of the term villas is misleading to show they are providing different types of housing. Villas are just townhomes with a different floor plan. The Green Tree property is surrounded by detached homes on large lots. Dense clusters of townhomes are in no way consistent or harmonious with the surroundings. Please look at the current proposed plan. There's very little space in between the rows of townhomes. In addition, this is placing 36 units on a dead-end street. Only one egress point for all those homes and providing no adjacent parking for guests. This could lead to safety issues. The commercial component of this concept plan is also not consistent with the existing neighborhood and would most likely draw business away from our existing downtown businesses. The placement of the commercial building at Candace and North Main provides no buffer between the existing homes and community commercial. If it has to be included, it should be next to the church. please vote no and tell the developer to come back with a plan that is consistent and harmonious with the existing neighborhood by eliminating or reducing the attached homes, adding more single-family residences, putting the commercial building in a more logical location next to the church or eliminating it, and creating a street layout that gives 70 residents another way to egress from their street. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, council members. I just want to say, first of all, thank you all. I sent you an email last night, and I'm just basically going to read it back for everyone and to have it on the record.
Just your name, Ms.
Yes,
Haven.
my name is Jessica Haven, and I live on Candace Drive. I live directly across from the construction site. I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to listen to us. I don't have any anger towards the council or the developer. After all, he's doing his job, and I want to do my job about saying something about this neighborhood. I'm not here to really complain as much about the townhomes, although, you know, they are very high density and don't fit in with our neighborhood. But we do need affordable housing in this town, and the schools are not at capacity, although after some of the other developments, they might be. My objection, as I have stated at the last few meetings, is the plan for the commercial space, or should I say the lack of a plan for the commercial space, or the lack of transparency on the plan for the commercial space. They're planning on placing a drive-through business at the corner of Candace and North Main. This is a terrible configuration. There are two churches, which are being referred to as residential properties, but no one lives there. And these two churches have parking lots containing floodlights facing outwards, and church lights as well on their signs that are on all night long. And if you come by at night and check it out, you'll see what I mean. It's incredibly bright. I can't imagine, and I live across the field beyond the electrical wiring, and it's very bright. I can't imagine living anywhere near that. So I just want everyone to think about that. It'll be a problem later down the road, but it needs to be addressed now. It makes more sense, obviously, to put the commercial space next to those two churches. We already have a lot of traffic here. So the fact that we do traffic feasibility after the pre-concept gets approved, I think is silly, but it is what it is. So please, do not allow the commercial business to be a drive-through. I want you to think about this. We all, as she said, have single-family homes on 1.25 acre lots, okay? And there's no business for a drive-through fast food restaurant or even a drive-through bank or whatever the drive-through business, a pharmacy, whatever it's planning, there's no business for it in the middle of this neighborhood, okay? It belongs in the commercial district, which is farther down Ridge Road near I-70. We're in dire need, from what I gather, this town is in dire need of a youth or recreational center. The Green Tree project here is the perfect time for us to insist this type of commercial business be built for our town. It could be an ice rink, a roller rink, a racquetball or basketball courts, indoor skate park, indoor mini golf course, laser tag. Think about it. Somewhere where the kids or adults can go have fun all year round. We need to insist that the commercial space be built for this kind of thing, not like individualized commercial sites.
Ms.
Again,
Haven, can you please wrap up?
thank you. Yes, I implore you, please tell them there's no business for the drive-through. Please do not approve that. And if there has to be a commercial business, please put it next to the two churches where the commercial lighting is. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Hi, good
Hi,
evening.
good evening, Amy Witter. I'm essentially going to reiterate everything that was.
Can you just state your name, please?
Amy Witter.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were starting. Let me start your time over.
It's okay, it's fine, it won't be all 3 minutes.
Thanks, Amy.
Hi, I'm Mr. Poirier, I'm Amy Witter, and I'm going to be reiterating essentially everything that was just stated, but I feel like it just can't be stated enough. I'd like to express my opposition to the Green Tree Development Pre-Concept Plan and encourage you to vote no on approval. I'm greatly concerned about the high-density townhouses and so-called villas in this plan. The attached homes are not consistent, nor are they harmonious with the existing neighborhood of single-family homes, and would set a dangerous precedent for a lot of other developments that are in the pipeline. The commercial component of this concept is also not consistent with the existing neighborhood and would more likely draw business away from downtown. Finally, the plan does not account for certain increases in traffic volume and congestion as it would create on Route 27 in the intersection of North Main. Please vote no and tell the developer to come back with a plan that is consistent and harmonious with the existing neighborhoods. Is consistent and harmonious with the existing neighborhood by eliminating or severely reducing the attached homes, and please add more single-family residences. Thanks.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello,
Hi.
my name is Dan Voss. I am against the pre-planned development. I represent more than just myself. I want to make that clear to each of the town council members. I talk to a lot of people in different social clubs. I just left the VFW. There are a lot of people that can't fit in this room, as you can tell by the hallway behind me. There is an enormous backlash against this plan, and I think you have to recognize how passionate we are about it. There are a lot of different specifics that people have mentioned and will continue to mention. The specific I would like to mention that may get your attention a little better than some of those is that should you vote against our interests, we will vote against you, okay? Pamela, I said it at the last meeting, I'm deeply disappointed in the way that you are running things here.
I don't run things.
All right, in the way that you are voting. All right, so let me rephrase. I'm deeply disappointed in all 5 of you, all right? But I know you specifically. Mayor, love your porch videos. I'm gonna end here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Diane
evening.
Perney. I do not live within the town limits, so I cannot vote for any of you, and there are very few that I would continue to support anyway. I'm a numbers person, and I've been looking at the numbers. So we have Green Tree with 75 townhouses. We have Beck with 588 housing units. That equals about, let's see here. That equals about 663 houses, 1,962 people living in those units, with 520 of them being under 18. And it's an additional 1,326 cars on our road, on Route 27, between Twin Arch and Main Street and Leisure. Can we do that? No, I don't think we can. Not without some smart growth. Let's fix our infrastructure first. Parks and play spaces. We have a current population of 2,500 kids under 18. We currently have 10 parks. 4 are soccer fields, 4 are baseball, softball, or football fields. That's not enough for these kids. Add another 520 or plus on that. Where are these kids going to play? Roads, add another 1,326 cars on 27, and we're screwed to get out of my area. Schools, 520 plus children in our schools. Will we have room for that? How many teachers will we need? Police, how many more police are we going to need to support that kind of growth? Growth is needed in this town. I understand that. We're not uneducated. We do know what's going on. We do need growth, but we need it smart. Look at the Twin Arch Center down there. It's a mess getting out of. And you think you're going to fix it with a road to Center Street? It's just going to move it down the road a bit. It's still going to be a cluster. We need to think about infrastructure before we think about adding to our homes. And by the way, that number of households will use 72 million gallons of water a year. That is an average in Maryland. Sewage would be at almost 6 million gallons a year. Do you have the sewage plant to support that? And then you add on an extra 24.1 gallon per day per square feet for every business you put in here. So think about your numbers and look at them, and they will tell the story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey
Good
guys.
evening.
How we doing?
Good. Just your name, please?
John Webster, live in town.
Thank you.
So I'm a gigantic nerd, I guess, and I've been Googling roles and responsibilities of an elected official. I think I'm going to say what we all know. We all know what an elected official should be, but I want to read a passage that I found really good. So the role, and I'm surprised this definition hasn't changed yet, to be honest with you. I guess they haven't gotten to this one, but maybe they will at some point. But as it currently stands, this definition of an elected official, first and foremost, you are elected to serve the public good and represent the interest of all citizens in your city or town. It's important to understand that candidate competition should end with the election results. Now that you are elected, it's time to meld individual opinions to achieve group objectives. So we are as divided as it can possibly be as a country. And look at this. The whole town is come together, and the overwhelming majority is against this. Yet here you guys are. It's absolutely incredible. Refresh yourselves of this definition.
Good evening.
Hey, my name's Lee McBride. I live on Candace Drive. Like someone else said, I live in the county. I can't vote for you guys or against you guys, but the decisions I'll make greatly affect me. And so I would like to agree with most of the other stuff that's been said before. One of the major things that I would like to bring up is I don't understand how you can either approve or disapprove of this before you even have a traffic study done. That just seems crazy to me. You know, I live on Candace Drive, so I've got all the Sterling Glen traffic that didn't used to be there, and now we're talking about adding even more. So, you know, some days it's hard to get out. I can't imagine having that many more cars running through the intersection, which is the way that I'm going to get out. So I would just like to say that I can't believe that, you know, regardless of how many houses are going up, which I don't agree with, but I can't believe that you would do the building without a traffic study that tells you that it could be put there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I snuck in the end, Dave Pyatt.
Good evening.
Hi. I want to talk in an even keel way about the Flatiron Building. I originally wasn't that crazy about one proposal. I had thoughts about maybe we ought to, you know, tear it down. I looked both ways. But I started reading the reports that were written. I have to confess, I worked for roughly 10 years as a structural engineer, but that's such a broad category. There's so many aspects. But I want to assure everybody this building is not going to fall down anytime soon. I mean, it's going to stay there. It's been there for 130 years, and it's going to stay there. The question is, what's it going to take to fix it up? How much it's going to cost? How much is it going to take to tear it down and rehab it? I think that's to be determined. And I want to say to Steve DeMotor, I know you spent a lot of time on this, and I do appreciate it. I think it was a very, you know, well-meaning effort. But we're at a point where the speaker two behind me did a really great job about talking of unity. The fact that we're considering spending getting money on legal fees, pro and con, is just absurd. I mean, this is just, you know, You know, we're many things, but we're better than that. So I just hope you come to your senses and try to work this thing out.
Thank you, Dick. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Kevin Doughton. I live, I don't know, just right up the
Doesn't
street
matter,
from
just
Green
go ahead
Tree.
and talk
Right.
away.
So, really dry voice. I wish I had a glass of water, but I didn't bring any with me. But so hopefully I'll get through it. But actually, I'm going to grab it. But you know, I want to mention about this Green Tree. I mean, I think a lot of these people are here because we're talking about Green Tree tonight, and and they're concerned about Green Tree and all these other places. I just don't understand why we keep going around and round and round about it. I mean, there's no roads, there's no water, it just doesn't make any sense why we keep talking about the same stuff over and over and over again. And I'm here because I'm like, really? And I just don't understand. And the traffic, like the guy, like this guy was just saying, I mean, I've thought that since the beginning. It's like, we're going to do all this, you're going to vote on it, you're going to wait a year, you're going to do whatever, you're going to do the traffic study. I mean, you already have traffic studies that say that those intersections up there can't handle the traffic that's already there, right? The master plan, if you actually read it and you get into it, it says that the community cannot handle or support apartments and townhouses. It says it right in the master plan, so it doesn't make any sense why we're entertaining a diagram with townhouses on it, right? It says it right in the master plan from a decade ago that we can't support townhouses and apartments, right? So I'm just going to let that go. But the main reason I got up because someone handed me something that reminded me of something that's going on in the town, and I'm not going to read the paper that was handed to me, but it's I want to make the point that the mayor was elected for a reason, right? He's elected to represent the majority of the people who live in the town, right? Everybody can have their own little ideas of what they want or whatever, right? But he was elected by a majority of the people in the town, and part of his job is to appoint people to these commissions and all this other kind of stuff. That's why he's a mayor. That's the whole point of him being here. And I don't even totally understand what's going on with amending the charter and all this other kind of stuff, but I know it's kind of ridiculous to try to say that he can't nominate these people and then somebody's not going to, I mean, what the hell is wrong with you people? I mean,
Good evening.
Ron Thompson, Van Mar Associates with the development team. Much has been heard and said about the Green Tree Village. People have mentioned high density and not consistent with the existing neighborhood. The use of the property is not high density as it's been claimed, but is a density of 4 units per acre. The number of residential units has been decreased from the previously approved 112 units to now 69, almost 40% decrease. The property is contiguous to a church, as has been mentioned, and it's separated from the residential properties by a major power line. That's 200 feet wide. The nearest home is over 250 feet from the townhomes being proposed. Comments have been made about water, traffic, and other APFO issues. These issues are evaluated in the next stage, the concept stage of the project when it's returned to the Planning Commission. Water is already allocated to the development per an annexation agreement that provided well number 9. Traffic will be evaluated with a traffic study and appropriate mitigation will be provided. The Green Tree Village, we believe, provides an attractive residential and non-residential environment that would not be possible if this was strictly used as community commercial. We're developing it to align with the existing contours and preserve the wooded areas in the back. We have a mixture of villas, townhomes, and commercial space as is required under the MXU overlay. We've completed a number of charrette and workshops and have, per council comments, added an additional acre to the park to be a residence park. We've changed the mix from just all townhomes to townhouses and villas that have first floor, master bedrooms, basements. And our open space exceeds the 3 acres per 100 that's required in the zoning code. We request the council approve the pre-concept sketch plan, allowing the process to return to the Planning Commission and the concept of the MXU overlay on a commercial zone property, allow it to be developed. The alternative, quite simply, would be to return to and develop it as a full commercial center of various businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm Patty Washabaugh. I live on Deer Hollow. Hello.
Good.
Okay.
Good evening, Patty.
Good evening.
Just 1 second.
Okay.
Are you all set? Okay.
Tonight, I wanted to address the council and the mayor regarding the possible legal action relating to the Flatiron building that is listed on the agenda tonight under unfinished business. Many questions such as why this is necessary, how much would this legal action cost, and what is the purpose of proposing this action in the first place entered my mind. Let's get to the real problem here. The real problem is when our town council is even contemplating taking legal action against our mayor, the system is broken. And when the system is broken, the town residents lose their trust in the people that they voted for and begin to question what is happening behind the scenes. Distrust on all sides runs prevalent. The result is far from the expectation level when the citizens casted their ballots for elected officials to make the best decisions for the future of our town. I also know how emotional the Flatiron building is, as I ran for office in 2018 and was asked repeatedly what my stance was on the issue, as well as the future of Park Avenue. When I was a council member, I met with residents and saw many proposals, but none with the tenacity and innovation that was presented by Larry Valet and the volunteers supporting this effort. I heard that safety was an issue due to the sidewalk being so close to the street. The proposal addressed that by showing a walking tunnel people could use. The proposal addressed ways that the cost could be defrayed due to innovative grant money that may be obtained. I heard the anticipation that by saving the building and using it for the Arts Alliance as well as other uses, it could help to create a more vibrant downtown area, which is what so many ran on when they campaigned for their office. And I also heard that if structurally the new things proposed were not viable, then we would have no other choice than to go to Plan B, which would be to demolish the building. I, for one, was shocked when the council voted not to give one last shot of saving the Flatiron building. Many of you commended the proposal and said it was the best one you had ever seen. I heard that it was the first time that a group of volunteers had approached the town with such a detailed proposal and committed to stay with the project through completion. The town survey completed in November 2020 has been used as a reason to move forward now to demolish the building. However, the survey only represents 26% of the respondents, unlike 44% of respondents that answered the first survey done in April 2008. The percentage is not the best barometer to measure the wishes of the fate of the Flatiron building, in my humble opinion. My hope is that you can use this opportunity to restore the trust lacking between the council and the mayor and revisit this decision. Come to an agreement to move forward and give the innovative proposal the final say on the fate of the Flatiron building. Do not waste senseless money suing our mayor, who has only acted as a firewall for this decision, as well as many other decisions that have been made recently that will forever change Mount Airy. Use the money to take the first step proposed in Larry Valet's presentation. Don't lead us all wondering what if, instead of leave us knowing the right decision was made if a demolition was the only choice. And last and not least, do it for Oscar Baker. He wanted that Flatiron building to remain. Rest in peace, Oscar.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Simon, and I'm part of the older group that lives in this town, that loves this town. And we like the way it is. We need some more buildings, but we don't need everything that they have proposed. And I think they need to go with what the mayor has done. He has been working on this for quite a few years, and he knows what's to be done. And everybody that voted for him understood that, and that's why they voted for him. And that's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone giving their comments. We already did our presentations. Councilmember Demoter, you want to be a speaker this evening?
Yes, I would like to
Okay.
give some remarks.
Sure.
I'm going to turn this so I can kind of speak to everyone, hopefully. And I am a slow speaker, so I ask you to just bear with me and maybe give me the time that I need. I'd appreciate it. Okay, you can hear me? All right, so the Flatiron Building. You've heard one side of the Flatiron Building story, which is a very romanticized version of the preservation path. Tonight, I want to speak a little bit to, in my view, the eminent safety issues that this building poses to our town and to our citizens. So who's accountable for the sins of past willful negligence? Previous town leaders, including those who originally purchased the Flatiron Building in 1951, intended to tear it down due to safety issues with the building. These same safety concerns have morphed over time and continue today. These concerns include significant mold issues, structural issues, roofing issues, crumbling foundation and continued water penetration issues, air quality issues, newly discovered issues that there are lead contamination levels throughout the building that exceed public health safety standards, inadequate and unsafe sidewalks, unsafe traffic and pedestrian issues due to the proximity of the building to a very narrow main street. From the town structural assessment conducted in 2012, the town confirmed that only 2 of the 20 safety and building deficiencies have been addressed to date. Why the willful negligence? Why has this public building not been maintained to town code requirements set for private property? If this building is of such vital importance to the town, why has it not been maintained by previous town councils and governments? This building has been an epidemic of neglect to the point that the town itself has openly cited the health and safety hazards such that no one has been allowed to occupy the building for over 10 years. Let me turn to a meeting that was held on January 26 with Preservation Maryland, and these are per my notes that I took as part of the meeting, so I want to reflect that. And so at that meeting, I was there with Preservation Maryland. It was a conference call, and the mayor was part of it along with another council member. And when we talked about the building itself, Larry, you had mentioned, per my notes, that your view was to take the building down and build a replica, because in your view, after inspecting the building, you shared that, quote unquote, the elephant in the room is safety on Main Street. It's too narrow at Main Street, and you shared that safety is a significant issue. A council member who participated also shared that comments on safety issues concerning lack of usable sidewalk next to the building and narrowness of Main Street. And they recalled a story about, I don't know if you remember last summer, the lieutenant governor came and toured our Main Street. And when the lieutenant governor wanted to walk over on the Flatiron section.
He's a speaker. It's different than public comment.
Okay, so are we able to respond to him?
I'm going to continue with my opportunity here.
Are we able to respond to him?
You can through an email, I guess.
Yes? Yes or no?
Sure, yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so when the lieutenant governor wanted to walk over to that side of the sidewalk, his security detail stopped him and did not allow it due to safety concerns. So my point is, if it's not safe for the lieutenant governor, who has a security detail to tell him that, then what does it say about our own citizens? Is it equally not safe for you? Let me talk a little bit about safety. Safety is not abstract, it's personal. It's about somebody's mother or father, son or daughter, or grandchildren. People can and do get hurt. People can and do die. I have seen it and lived it as a safety professional, and it's something that will stay with you. I recall a May Town Council meeting where, during the public comment portion, a senior citizen made the statement, and I'm roughly paraphrasing here. Sure, we've had some broken mirrors here and there over the years by the Flatiron Building, but, that's nothing to worry about. Now, I understand the tone it was presented, but is it really funny? Is it funny to the persons whose car gets clipped and loses a mirror and gets damaged? Or worse, a daughter or granddaughter sitting in the passenger seat that gets glass in the car and gets injured because of such an event? How about the person's car who gets sideswiped with major damage because they were parked in front of Old Town Restaurant and there's no clearance for parked cars and traffic at the same time? And it does happen. It happened earlier this year. I'm speaking. I was elected to make decisions keeping the town's best interest in mind and keeping our residents safe. Keeping you safe is really the most important responsibility I have as a council member. I think about your safety all the time, including being around the Flatiron Building. Our present situation with the Flatiron Building is an unrelenting safety concern. I've worked for years as a federal safety officer. One of the things you always think about as a safety officer is, what keeps you up at night? Because in essence, you are the safety conscience of the organization. I had many sleepless nights over potentially unexpected events, both accidental and from negligence, and I now have these sleepless nights when I think about the Flatiron Building. There are potentially huge safety issues when vehicles, people, and parades pass by this building. We never know when a simple daily activity could turn catastrophic. While at MML, I spoke with our insurer, the Local Government Insurance Trust, about the current situation we find ourselves in, starting with the impasse we find ourselves in with the 3-2 vote to remove the building and potential legit resources that could aid us in the impasse. That led to a discussion of my safety concerns, and Legit 2 then became concerned and offered to come out and do a hazard risk inspection of the building. What they found through their report were the same issues. They found over 10 findings that dealt with cracks on the interior of the foundation wall showing evidence of water penetration, deterioration of the wall, numerous other water damage issues, and a key finding was, regarding the sidewalk, it's only a 3-foot sidewalk adjacent to moving traffic. It should be a minimum of 5 feet. So they recommended as an action, the damaged, broken, and deteriorated sidewalk should be repaired in a timely manner to help minimize further deterioration or trip and fall injury potential. The town's insurance carrier has a clear view of these safety concerns, and through its own inspection and underwriting process, determined that the building has reached the point that it is uninsurable and canceled the insurance. Isn't an insurance company's position one more verification that this building is an unacceptable safety risk? I understand that the town has since obtained new insurance, but at a much higher rate. Here's my bottom line. The Flatiron Building, to me, is an eminent safety and liability concern, both to the physical building itself and due to its abutment to Main Street, which poses undue safety risks to pedestrians and drivers. If this building does not come down in the next 6 months, and should another path be taken with this building that would leave it sitting there for months upon months upon months without any action, then the town needs to take 2 immediate actions. First, I would ask that the town take immediate actions to repair the damaged sidewalk immediately in front of the Flatiron Building as required by the legit assessment. Secondly, I request that the town remove the parking spaces on the opposite side of the street where the spaces start from around Deja Vu all the way down to Old Town Restaurant. And if you are unwilling to take this action now, to me, the preservation option is unsupportable, because if you continue and preserve that building, you're not moving the building. You're going to have the same Main Street safety issues that you have now. So if you can't stomach the action, I understand our businesses and how they would feel, but if you can't take the action now to deal with the safety issue and remove those parking spaces, what's your plan for preservation? Because you're going to have to remove them at some point, and you might as well do it now because you have safety risks out there today. Thank you very much. Thank you for the time.
All right, moving on. And before I move on to the next agenda item, I had promised Rita Misra, who sent me an email with comments regarding the Green Tree property, and I just want to submit them on behalf of her to go on to public record. All right. Next up is the approval of the council meeting minutes and closed meeting minutes for July 2022, the closed meeting minutes for the Flatiron Building, the closed meeting minutes for Beck Property, and the closed meeting minutes for the small business loan. I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilwoman Reed seconds. Can we turn on our mics? Councilwoman Reed seconds. Were there any other corrections, notifications that we need to go over with the meeting minutes? All right, seeing none. All those in favor of the meeting minutes as I just read, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, all those meeting minutes are good to go. All right, next up, Chief Reitz with our Mount Airy Police Department monthly report. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening. Chief Reitz with the Mount Airy Police Department monthly report for the month of July. Start off with some of the community outreach we did this month. We had the Mount Airy Police Department Pack the Cruiser event. MAPD has partnered with the Mount Airy Net for a Pack the Cruiser event that occurred on Thursday, July 28th. The event was successful, filling several cruisers with non-perishable food items and monetary donations that went to the Mount Airy Net as well. We'd like to thank those who gave to the Mount Airy Police Department and the Mount Airy Net, as well as our business partners who allowed us to use their property, and that was the Mount Airy Food Line and the Mount Airy Walmart. So we thank those businesses as well. National Night Out this year. Due to the Fireman's Carnival this week, we will be having a very condensed version of National Night Out. Actually, National Night Out will be kind of all week because we're going to be at the carnival all week with our personnel, and we'll have a booth up there that's set up and have information and things for kids and so forth. So actually, it's an all-week event for us. Booth is set up, and the officer will be on the site for the carnival detail. So if anybody's around, stop in and say hi to them. They appreciate that. They appreciate the support as well. As always, we have our prescription over-the-counter medication disposal box at the station. It's always open, usually from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. For the month, as far as calls for service for the month of July, there was 632 calls for service, This was a 1% decrease from June of 2022 and a 31% decrease from last June of 2021, or I'm sorry, July of 2021, which was 913 calls for service last year. Traffic enforcement for the month, there was a total of 102 traffic stops made by the officers. They issued 77 citations, 110 warnings, 18 equipment repair orders. There was 1 DUI arrest made and 6 other traffic arrests. As far as criminal enforcement, there was 4 criminal arrests for the month. We did have some significant incidents this month. There was a burglary theft that occurred at the Walmart on Saturday, 7/23. MAPD responded to the Walmart in the 200 block of East Ridgeville Boulevard. It was reported that an unknown suspects forced entry into a caged area and were able to steal an undisclosed amount of vehicle batteries. The culprits utilized a U-Haul vehicle. And this is also a part of a group that's been operating in numerous jurisdictions as well. This has occurred in a vast area, so it's an ongoing issue with them. We did have an attempted strong-arm robbery at the McDonald's on July 28th. We responded to McDonald's in the 1700 block of Ridgeside Drive for a report of an attempted robbery, strong-arm robbery at the drive-through window. Upon arrival, officers met with the victim complainant and was advised that a dark-colored Nissan pulled up to the parking lot, and a subject exited the rear of the vehicle and approached the drive-through window, reached through the window and assaulted the employee, then attempted to grab the cash register drawer. The employee then began to fight back with the suspect, who then fled back to the vehicle, and the vehicle then fled the area towards Route I-70. The suspect was described as an African-American male in his early 20s with a thin build, wearing a face mask, dark zipped-up hoodie, sweatshirt, gray sweatpants, and white tennis shoes. Our investigation further revealed that the vehicle and the tags had been stolen from an allied jurisdiction. There has been multiple robbery attempts in numerous jurisdictions by this group. Again, this is another group that's going through the area, and we're working in conjunction with other departments to see if we can identify them and find out who they are to bring them to justice. During the month of July, larceny and theft was the predominant group, again, of Group A offenses. With 11 reported incidents, destruction of property we had 6 reported offenses. Fraud, assault, and drug and narcotic violation were all tied at 5 apiece. And we did have 1 burglary, 1 robbery, and again, one arson during the month of July. So that was a grand total of 35 Group A offenses. As far as Group B offenses, we had 7 total offenses during the month, and there was no opioid overdoses during the month to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And I know that you're busy. If you can just email us your report. We would appreciate it. And thank you for your service. We know with the carnival coming in, there will be some extra bodies on hand, and we appreciate your time and service. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
No questions. Thank you, Chief, for all you do.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Bruce in? He's probably at the carnival, I would imagine. So we'll give him his free attendance award. Next up, Captain Rolfe with the Civil Air Patrol. Good evening, Captain.
Good evening, Captain Rolfe with the monthly Civil Air Patrol report. Under mission significant activities, our squadron members provided air crew support to the Bay Patrol flights. As I've mentioned in previous meetings, Bay Patrol is a Maryland-wide mission that supports the U.S. Coast Guard during the summer months, flying missions over the Chesapeake Bay to keep an eye out for boaters in distress. Squadron also supported the Mid-Atlantic region's hosting of members of the Royal Air Cadets, which is part of the International Air Cadet Exchange, which are in this part of the country this year. Under community support, it was mentioned last month that we supported the town's post-4th of July cleanup at the Carnival Grounds, For qualifications and achievements, being summer months, our cadets are everywhere. We had a cadet complete advanced training events at the Hawk Mountain Ranger School, which is a facility up in Pennsylvania that focuses on wilderness emergency services training. And another cadet that was up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, helping to marshal aircraft and provide public affairs support for the large air show that's going on up there. For significant training, the squadron conducted over 6 hours of unmanned aerial system training flights. That's drones in normal parlance. We have nothing to report for flight time beyond that. And being summer, we have no membership growth this month. Our teams remain fully operational and mission capable. We are also looking at options for establishing a better presence here in downtown. As you know, our location out at the Isaac Walton League is a little bit on the outskirts. So we're looking at opportunities to have a stronger presence closer to the center of town to show our support. And on the horizon, we have 2 community events scheduled that we're supporting, the Main Street Mile on the 13th and the Wine and Cheese Festival on the 18th. And we have several members that are already scheduled to participate in community emergency response team training in September to better support our, build our capability for that in the town. Pending your questions, that's my report for the month.
I do need to talk to you about Oktoberfest. I'm hoping the Civil Air Patrol can help support it. So I will email you probably later this week.
Got it.
Any other comments or
Yeah,
concerns?
I just want to say thank you. And I don't think the council, the mayor, and members of the public realize, and I want to thank, you have Civil Air Patrol members who are minors that come to our meetings. So I want to thank them for coming. And I want to remind the public, we do have children in the chambers. So if we could kind of watch our language, I apologize to the children who have had to hear that in the last few meetings, but I think we as adults could probably set better examples. But thank you to the ones that do keep showing up, and thank you for everything you do.
I appreciate it.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
As well, I just wanted to say thank you for the upcoming events that you're supporting, that Main Street Mile. Should be a lot of fun. That's a first-year event on August 13th, and the Wine and Cheese Festival as well. Greatly appreciate your help throughout the year with all these community events and everything you do, heck, for our nation. Thank you.
We're happy to see the events coming back finally after 2 years, too.
Okay. Thank you, Captain. All right, moving on to new business. Next up is the revised Green Tree MXU CC pre-concept sketch plan. This is up for approval. I'll introduce, is there a second?
I will second it just to get the discussions
Yep,
moving here.
that's all we need to do. That was not a vote. Okay. All right. With a motion and a second, we can now go ahead and get to discussion items.
I have some
Councilmember Demoter, and then
comments
I'm sure
start off.
we'll go on down the line.
Okay, so let me give you some thoughts here. First, let me start broadly. I want to thank the town staff. I want to thank John Breeding and Barney Quinn and just everybody on the town staff and the Planning Commission. This is hard work. These are hard assignments. There's a lot of work that goes into setting up all these meetings and everything. So thank you for all that you do through this process. Next comment is, there's no other way to say it, and I'll try and say it softly. It's a little bit to me of a slap in the face to the citizens and to us as council members. You know, we had a second workshop on Green Tree with a lot of public comment, charrettes. The council members gave a lot of comments, and the plan that I see before me is the exact same plan that came to the workshop. There's nothing new here that reflects any comments that were provided at that workshop. So that's a disappointment. In looking at the ordinance on MXD, it tells me that I'm allowed to make a decision on the pre-concept sketch plan based on the purpose and objective statements in the ordinance. So it's not just about tech specs of how much open space, but it's about these purpose and objective statements. And in that regard, under the MXD ordinance, under A, it says, the purpose is to facilitate the integrated and orderly development of residential uses and non-residential uses where high-quality mixed-use developments can occur in harmony with surrounding land uses. I don't believe that your current plan is in harmony with surrounding land uses. Number two, under objectives, it says to provide a more attractive residential and non-residential environment that would be possible through the strict than would be possible through the strict application of conventional zoning districts alone. So what is uniquely special about what you're providing through this zoning category that was not achievable through other zoning categories? And again, I'm not seeing the uniqueness there. It's still, to me, pretty much a cookie cutter townhouse development with a little shopping center next to it. And then the third point that I don't think you meet per the ordinance is, again, creating a mixture of office, retail, cultural, art, recreational, residential uses while protecting the character of surrounding neighborhoods and the overall natural environment. I think you're missing the boat there as well. Let me give you a suggestion for something that I think I could potentially support. And I'd like to take credit for this idea, but once again, it's the citizens who shared this with me at the end of the last workshop. If you look at your concept plan, and I believe I asked you this question during the workshop, I said, you know, how many units do you need to make this a financially viable project? And nobody could directly answer that. And you said to me, well, I'd have to go back and rebid this, I'd have to check. And I said, well, I'd like for you to get back to me on that. And no one ever got back to me on that. So if you want me to consider your project favorably, at least have the courtesy of getting back to me with an answer. Here is a proposal per what I heard some citizens say. If you look at your site plan, look at the grouping of townhomes immediately in the center. It kind of sits above where your open space is. And I think I mentioned this to you at the workshop. If you remove that block of townhomes, that now gives you more of a kind of centralized town square feel, and it gives you more usable open space to do more than just put a tot lot in with a basketball court, okay? So if you remove those, if you actually provided some buffer space between the townhomes and the commercial space, which I asked for, and then I'd like you to consider, if you look at the townhomes that front on Main Street, if you take those 2 blocks of townhomes away and put some single-family homes there, that at least carries forth the character of our Main Street with single-family homes. So you got some single-family homes retaining the character of Main Street. You have more open space by removing the block of townhomes in the center, truly put some buffer between the townhomes and the commercial space. Now you're starting to talk to me about something that might be a special development that would attract people to Mount Airy and hold its value. Last comment. I know you're meeting the open space requirement, but again, quite honestly, the amount of open space in the development proper is much less than the open space over in that triangular area that's basically, I get it's scenic and you can hike there, but it's really unusable. The usable open space should be associated with the development proper. So those are my comments. I'm going to leave you with this. I'm sure some people rolled their eyes when I was talking earlier. I'll give you something else to roll your eyes about. And comment on Facebook. There's a poem called Good Enough. It's by Edgar A. Guest. I want you to go look it up. Good enough to me is not good enough. This proposal is still not good enough. And I cannot support it. If I voted tonight, I would vote against this. Thank you for all the time.
Councilmember Munder.
All righty, thank you.
You're up.
My turn now? Okay, thank you, Council President Poyer. Okay, I can do a couple things here, but I'll start off with the comments that I have or suggestions that I would encourage the planner and the developer to look at and consider favorably. As I said at the last workshop at the fairgrounds, that on the plan that the dead-end streets should, hey, John, can you move the podium? I can't, every time I look up, I see the podium instead of the people's faces. All right, the dead-end streets should go on it where the units are just for more town maintenance, trash collection, snow removal. Make those curves into that and adjust the housing as needed to fit along the curves of the roads in both locations. I'm satisfied and I would also like to say thank you for taking into consideration my comments at the first one regarding the townhomes and villas on it. While I do believe single families should be a portion of this, might not be due to site restriction and cost of them. And also, I'm trying to think something else I thought as single family. I mean, 4 or 5, as Councilman DeMotor suggested, up along Main Street might be good. They would probably be 0 lot lines. So we also have to decide, are we willing to look at 0 lot line single-family homes that look probably, in my view, worse than townhomes and villas. Everybody needs to remember something. We are all hearing different things from different people. One people say townhouses aren't good enough, there's too many, so we reduce the villas. We need active adult communities in this town because of lack of, I don't want to say senior housing, but active adult housing. We're lacking housing that is attainable by, a majority of the citizens that are working. Well, look around at the active adults, communities. They're villas. They're not single family. I came across a development that's very similar to this in New Windsor. I want to say Snyder's Summit. They have a mix of townhomes, villas, and single family. I talked to the sales lady up there and ask, what's the mix of people buying it? Well, we have families. We have the parents of the families moving in, buying the various models and things. And so it's a multi-generational community, which is what's needed here, because a mix of generations lessens the impact on services. I also asked, what was the last single-family house that sold in there? Mind you, this is New Windsor. She said it's approximately 3,000 square foot and went from mid-7 to 800,000. So single families come with a price, and it might be unattainable because with this community in our market, the single families would be easily $1 million, probably. We're talking Lake Linganore starting at 800 and some thousand. So be careful what you get, or wish for it, or ask for it, because in the long run, it might shoot us in the foot on that one. They've worked with us. I am satisfied with the location of the commercial building on this. It meets what I would classify as I'm able to go through this. So I'm not sure if we're doing a vote or not, but I will kind of copy what Councilman DeMotta said on this, and I'll just read the code. Unfortunately, I think Councilman DeMotta may have had the wrong section of code, and I can totally get him on that.
Was it close?
Close. It was mixed MXD instead of MXUCC.
I think they mostly do.
Yeah, they do, but I'm good. And as both of them require us to make decisions on the purpose and objectives of this. So I'm going to go through the purpose and objective statements. I know some people might not agree with it, but this is how I see it. And at times, sometimes I think it's time to, as the gentleman said, we keep revisiting this, time to move forward on some things. The purpose of the MXU is to facilitate and integrate and I think that's integrate an orderly development of residential uses and non-residential uses where high-quality mixed-use developments can occur in harmony with surrounding land uses. I took a high-level approach and look at this, mainly for the land use, not the specific density types or low residential or anything else. A purpose statement relates more to where a zoning classification is located than the plan associated with a parcel of land. Also, it indicates what the plan should be or look like for the property. High quality is in the eye of the beholder. It could mean one thing to me, mean something different to Councilman DeMuter, could mean something different to everybody. So it's hard to say what a high quality is or have a definite definition of what high quality is because it differs from person to person. And this high quality can and will be examined during the later stages of the plan review during the concept and pattern book. For the pre-concept phase of the development, I would apply the notion of how it is designed and the use and design of the property to the type of land use surrounding the parcel. MXUCC requires a ratio of commercial and residential uses to be included in the plan. So we can't eliminate the commercial. It's part of it without changing the whole zoning. The code requires a various ratio from, I believe, 75% residential to 25% commercial or vice versa, or somewhere between there. So again, commercial will, if this is approved or moves forward, will be part of the plan. It has always been part of the plan since the inception of the active adults back in the early 2000s. That has not changed. And I would rather see some residential or some type of concept in this than straight commercial. You all think the traffic is bad or concerning with the residential commercial? You put a large-scale commercial, several pad sites up there, you will have traffic. You will have potentially far worse traffic than what this would generate. So that's something else for everyone to consider as I read Facebook and say, we need to do this, we need to do that. Okay, the surrounding zoning of the land within town boundaries is residential, with 2 buildings that are commercial in nature. The churches that are in close proximity to the parcel. What is being proposed is a development that is primarily residential with a commercial component, so it fits the area of what's around there. That is similar to the land uses that are currently in the area. So in my view, if we were going to vote tonight for the purpose, the plan as presented meets the statement of the zoning classification. Now I'm going to move on to the objectives. Provide a more attractive residential and non-residential environment that would be possible through the strict application of conventional zoning district requirements. Most of the other zoning districts in the code have required setbacks and other what's classified as bulk requirements that define the layout of the lots and buildings on a site. MXUCC does not have any of these. This allows for the design to incorporate various land uses in a variety of ways that may not be possible in the zone if it was having normal bulk requirements. And of course, again, attractiveness has many components. For a site plan at this stage, the 2 main ones for me are the design of the site plan and the elevations of the buildings that will be there. Unfortunately, the building elevations are not required to be presented at this time and are part of the pattern book approval phase. So I will focus my comments on the overall layout of the proposed site plan. What is proposed have 2 areas that are separated. The areas are commercial and residential. While some may argue that this mimics normal town zoning classifications, nothing in the MXUCC prevents this. And this design is a better design than having individual commercial buildings located throughout the proposed development. So again, the plan meets the objectives of this zoning classification. Encourage harmonious and coordinated development of sites that is consistent with the existing natural features, bicycle, pedestrian, and vehicle circulation, and compatibility with surrounding uses. Ooh, all right, mouthful there. With the limited amount of information provided in the drawing related to the grading of the site, other than the creation of retaining walls on the southern portion of the site, it is difficult to determine if the plan encourages the integration of the natural slope and features of the land into the plans. I would hope it does, since this would increase the aesthetics of the site. I believe Ron Thompson indicated that it will be designed to the slope and the natural features as best can be as allowed, so that does. As currently drawn, the plan does encourage and provide for safe use of the site by pedestrians and bicycle via the sidewalks and other access points to surrounding communities and town amenities. Vehicle circulation in the development, mind you, I'm looking at development and site right now with these comments, is controlled via the dead-end streets of the development and lack of access to other town roads, which, mind you, some people have said, let's just kick it on through to Summit Ridge, the road. That's not allowed via the annexation agreement. So it's going to be no connection, no bypass, no side street. But the roads are going to be there, the roads are going to be there. Let's see, I would hope that, okay, it's currently drawn. The limit vehicles residential areas primarily to residents and their guests. As for the compatibility with surrounding land uses, I repeat my earlier statement of the surrounding zoning of the land within town boundaries is residential with 2 buildings that are commercial in nature, that are in close proximity to the parcel. What is being proposed, if I judge that, is a development that is primarily residential with a commercial component, which meets the zoning classification. At the end of the day, we always have to go back to what is allowed via the zoning. So yes, again, the plan is submitted, meets the objective of this zoning classification number 2. Number 3, encourage development that is of excellent design and architecture with a mix of uses that will create synergy, efficiency of design, and a reduction of vehicle miles traveled. Any proposed plan is only required to encourage the items mentioned in this objective. It's not required. As I've mentioned earlier, with the limited information provided in this plan, it is difficult to make a determination that what will be built is of excellent design and architecture. And this requirement will vary from person to person, as I said. So this one statement of trust brings in a level of trust between the people here making a decision, the developer of the property, and the planning commission. And I have faith in the current planning commission to require a pattern book containing buildings of excellent design and architecture that will protect and enhance the nature of the surrounding community. And I would hope it be submitted for review as such, because I've been doing the research. It does not behoove a developer to submit a plan that devalues what they're building and the surrounding communities. So, and as for the reduction of the vehicle miles traveled for VMT, or as VMT, this plan does little to reduce VMT in any significant amount due to the site constraints that are beyond the control of the developer. Again, this is not required, but is only encouraged as a design element. So again, I know people ain't gonna like me for this, but I got to. Ms. Mansfield, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I wasn't going to address your concerns later. And quite frankly, at the end of the day, no matter what decision we make, we are elected to represent the residents of this town. I do what is best for these residents of the town. We will take into consideration the comments and concerns of the surrounding neighbors and people. But at the end of the day, this town will and will always come first. Okay? All right. And I will make comments about your comments on the master planning process a little bit later during my planning, because a lot of people that are commenting need to learn the process of the development of the master plan. I will address it. Right now, we are on this. So please, keep the calling to the thing. It's going to be what it's going to be. With the inclusion of a commercial building, which can be okay, let me see. Create a mixture of office, retail, recreational, and residential uses, along with restaurants, eateries, and cafes, where all related structures, parking, and open spaces are designed to establish and maintain a cohesive community while protecting the character of the surrounding neighborhoods. With the inclusion of a commercial building which can be configured to the needs of a tenant and the housing types of townhomes and villas, it does create a required mixture of uses required by this objective. Unfortunately, we just don't know what those uses will be at this time. But as I said, due to the ability to configure, it does. And again, I'm viewing the requirement of a cohesive community to apply to the development itself in this instance. With the location of parking for the commercial uses, residential units, and shared parking, because remember, people keep saying there's no parking, but there's a whole lot at the top of the hill, which is shared parking, which can be used by residents and their guests. And over an acre of open space, up from less than a third of an acre. Could it be improved upon with some changes to the plan? Yes. So parked by the residents, in the commercial development, over an acre of open space for the use of park by the residents of the development meets the requirement of community cohesive in my eyes in this objective. If the character of the surrounding neighborhoods is, the character of surrounding neighborhoods being protected will again vary from person to person. With the location of the included open space, park, and commercial buildings, and the lack of any direct connection to the surrounding neighborhoods within the boundaries of the town, the residential feel character of those neighborhoods should more than likely be protected. So again, the plan meets the objective of the zoning classification. I would also like to bring up, people say there's only one entrance, one exit. The commercial space should be recreational space. Well, a little bit of history for this. I think the first plan, when Frank and Rob came back with the one of the two plans before this, there was more than one point of egress and ingress out connected directly across Christie Acres. Well, everyone in Christie Acres came and said, we don't want it. It's bad for Candace, it's bad for this. The same arguments that are going on here now. So the developer and everybody else changed the plan. Well, now that's not good enough. Well, yet again, it's going to be what it's going to be. You either have multi-points of access, one can't be done because it's against the annexation agreement, two, the neighbors in Christie Acres aren't going to like it because they're willing to do that, so we're left with direct access points on and off of Main Street. Okay, will it affect traffic? Yes, there's no doubt around that. But any development here outside of town, farther in Frederick County, along Buffalo Road, anywhere, traffic will come up Candace to get to 27. So I have faith in the state highway planning and everything, because they will have to go through, for traffic studies, state highway, county, and us. So, and state highway, to my experience and my knowledge, does not give free passes easily. And if you don't do as you're told, you don't get it. It's that simple. So I'm asking people to take faith and trust in the higher up that state highway and people in the town do act in your best interest. As for the recreational and the skating rink and everything, yet again, we're coming back full circle again. I know, Jason, Council President, I'm taking a while, but it's history lessons too here. A little bit. We have on the Planning Commission at the end of the month a property called the Full Property off of Buffalo Road. If memory serves me correct, it's a little bit before my time, that the owner of that property, Doc Full, wanted to develop a sports complex there at his cost. Town would pay nothing. Well, same thing happened. People in Summit Ridge, everybody else, got up, started complaining about same concerns, traffic on Buffalo, intersections, this and that. So what happens? He pulled it. 10 years later, we don't have anything. So some people might like it, some people might not like it. But to move forward in anything, people need to agree, need to trust, and be willing to not to accept some things. So that, again, that's the recreational. So we're going to be talking about annexation of that property. People aren't going to like it. So I'm going to ask Mr. Thompson tonight that if he comes to the Planning Commission, which I believe he will because he's a representative for the people, that at least you come with what would be classified, if you're able to, come to the Planning Commission with what would be classified as net developable acreage for the site. That might limit the things I'm seeing of, oh, there's going to be 16 homes there and things of that nature. Maybe, maybe not, but the zoning for R2 is net developable acreage. I'm not going to ask you to bring a drawing because, what was that? I will. I'm getting there, Pam. Don't worry, sorry. Thank you. Oh, at times I do, Lynn. Sometimes I do. Create a mixture of office, retail, recreation, residential. I did that. Got it. Okay. If the character surrounding, okay. Expand the opportunities to support diversified housing options within an integrated site design of various land uses. Again, it does support diversified housing, which includes the villas and the townhomes. Could there be some mix of single family? Potentially. But I don't know if I want to classify as having a whole development of $1 million homes as affordable for working families or teachers, firefighters, or even me as a state employee, or even a town employee. So I'm hoping that if it comes back and not voted on, that they can fit in some townhomes. But yet again, people, the zoning classification does not have any of those bulk requirements, setback, lot lines, any of that nature. So potentially a whole community of half-acre lots might not work here. It might be too expensive for anyone to move here. Okay? So consider that. Or are we willing to look at what Clarksburg has and some Frederick things of the 0 lot line homes now? So you have to be willing to accept what is the lesser of everything evil at times. Can it be? Can it not be? So that concludes those on the objectives and stuff of that nature. I know some people might not like me. I might get roasted on Facebook, but it is what it is. And then join the club. I know. When I'm fed up, I'm fed up. When people are afraid to come here, sorry. But one other thing on the design, Ron and Frank, coming in behind the commercial building, I suggested the curb or the curving road to allow better access. There's a group of 4 buildings. I think Councilman DeMotte also suggested removing those. I was going to suggest that too, but maybe redirect or redesign that as a potential, I want to say, pull-off site for any communal mailboxes that might happen there or something, because I think what I've seen when I drive around now, that a lot of developments of this nature have communal mailboxes. They don't have, I want to say, mailboxes at each cluster or location. And what I've seen is a pull-off. So if you have a nice little pull-off, and if they require it, that's nice. If they don't require it, that's nice. Put it like a pocket park or a gazebo or something. But that can also potentially redesign that site too. So the backyards of whatever type of housing units built, there could be a single-family townhome villa. I'll let you decide on that at this point. Backing up to commercial property. So I've said my piece on that, but I mean, this is 20 years, going on 20 years now. So as it's time to fish or cut bait on all this, and no matter what, If we can't solve it or agree to it, we're going to be right back to where we are now at a later date with maybe a commercial complex. Community commercial people read the zoning, okay? They can be a residential, it's more profitable, maybe they will do an exception. They can go through that. But as I said, community commercial has that range. So right now, this is at the lower range where it's going for the residential component more so than commercial. Also, mind you, allowed use for here is apartments. So is that worse than townhomes, villas? That would potentially be, multi-generational. Also a thing for senior living, active adults now are apartments, not necessarily villas. They don't want to burden their families with, I want to say, the problem of selling a place afterwards. It's easier just to clean out the place and re-rent it. So if this is going to be some form of this, the road structures are fine, in my view, and we need to decide this tonight or next month what to do with this. So I conclude. I'll pass along to Councilman Poyer, Council President.
Thank you. I'll make mine short and sweet. I have nothing prepared.
Hey, I spent over two hours on this tonight.
I did not. I didn't need to. So just for clarification, looking through Chapter 112-39.1, as far as the drive-throughs go, just so that everyone is on the same page, the drive-through could include a bank, a coffee shop, a drugstore, or dry cleaning. So maybe there were some comments about fast food or a restaurant having drive-through, and that's just inaccurate. So I just wanted to clarify that it cannot be any of those things. The things where it does come into question, like a Starbucks, and in talking to other people, there's no clarification on that. So could we have another Starbucks? Potentially. Could we have another Dunkin' Donuts? Potentially. What you consider those as a coffee shop or a fast food, I'm not really sure. There's no guidelines that say one versus the other. So we have another potentially gray area there in our own MXD usage. Gentlemen, do you have the square footage for the commercial component, or are you not aware of that just yet?
The building size is 19,200 square feet on 2 floors.
Okay, thank you very much. There was just nothing marked on the map, and I just wanted to get clarification. The 19,000, correct me if I'm wrong, is about 6,000 square feet less than what the minimum is, right? Is the minimum at least 25,000? No? What is the minimum?
We had sized this, right now it meets the 25%.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I do also appreciate you taking my concerns as far as the recreation area and increasing that size. The question that I had, and I see 3 stormwater management MB. Could you clarify what that is, please?
For stormwater management, we're required to treat on-site, and those are generally surface facilities, microbial retention, which is about a foot deep from the ground and landscape.
And
Just showing them as to what we will need. They'll probably move around on the site.
Okay.
But they are not structural facilities.
what, if I was to go and look at one, can you picture for me what I would see? Would I see something that looks like a garden with potential pebblestone, gravel, rock, maybe a mixture of mulch on top of that to prevent water runoff going into then the parkland?
You would, correct. And they're designed so that you do not have runoff flowing over land. There are overflow pipes that take the water. If you were driving out Twin Arch Road all the way to the Lisbon Road, if you look at the Episcopal Church, they have a rain garden. They have a rain garden that's just like a microbial retention. It's heavily landscaped and maintained. Every year or two, you have to remove the mulch, put new mulch back in. There are very specific requirements to maintaining the facility.
Okay. I too have a couple concerns. My first one is not necessarily more of a concern, but more of a disappointment, is when the council had given its suggestions at the last meeting and then gone through another workshop, we've been presented with an identical plan with none of those other suggestions taken into consideration, which tells me, if I'm looking at this, it says, we don't really like what you guys said, and we're going to resubmit the proposal as is because this is the best that we have. That's what it tells me when I'm looking at a plan presented twice with none of the other suggestions that were presented by my counterparts, as well as from the workshop. A couple other council members have already alluded to some of the dead ends. To me, and I can pull up the code, but I don't need to, it doesn't work harmoniously with the property. And so my suggestion to you guys would be to round off those dead ends to keep the fluidity within the parking or the roads, pardon me. The island that is in the middle there, to me, does not provide any substantial usage that would be appropriate for the 4 townhouses that are straight across from that. And as far as a buffer zone goes, as Councilmember Munder mentioned, that there's technically really none. However, I have to look out for the best interests of these residents that aren't there yet. The buffer zone between those townhouses, which is residential, and the commercial, and seeing this road that goes around those 14 and 19 parking spots, if I was, and I always try to imagine myself, if I was to buy in here, would I buy one of those 4? And the answer would be no, because I'm going to have outside people come into town. I'm going to have residents come into town that maybe I'm not familiar with. I would not allow my children to necessarily play unsupervised in those backyards with cars driving by. Keep in mind, I'm a 3rd grade teacher, so all I do is worry about children's safety. Those are my concerns. If you should come back with another unstructured plan, I will essentially call, I don't know if we're going to vote tonight, but I will essentially call a vote, and hearing some of the concerns so far, it doesn't seem that this would be going in anyone's favor. Councilwoman Reed.
So I did have some comments, but Councilmember Munder, we don't agree too often, but everything you said, I agree with 100%. I think the proposal in front of us meets code, and at some point, we are going to have to take a vote, and I think they've given us enough to get them to the next stage. And I want to reiterate that this is a much better plan than 100% commercial on this space. It will complement the area, it will complement the community. This is just a pre-concept idea. There are several stages that will come after this where we will see where it actually looks like. Again, it's just a pre-concept, and they've met the requirements. that's all I have to say.
Councilwoman Galetti.
So I have a few comments. A lot have been already said by previous council members. I want to thank Councilman Munder because a lot of what I had to say you covered, because I don't think a lot of the people in the public realize, and I want to address some of the public. We didn't just come up with this. This has been around for years. So when you say you're disappointed in us, we've been doing nothing but trying to make this palatable because, as Councilman Munder said, it was, before I ever got here, it was zoned commercial. So they did fight to have it switched so there's some residential. So I just want to point out that this isn't anything new that we just came up with. But thank you for explaining that there is a process, there has been a process, and this is the end of this isn't a shovel's going to go in the ground. How many years has this been going on now?
Last time Barney and I chatted about 2004, maybe a little bit before
Okay.
then.
So I do want to say thank you for trying to explain that. If anybody in the public doesn't understand that, Councilman Munder has it all. You've got it. I'm offering you up to explain more for people if they want to know the process. But my question is, I'm concerned because, as other people have reiterated, I'm going to repeat it. We had a workshop. We had a lot of public comment. And thank you. I'm going to keep going back, even though I've had people tell me we don't need ball fields. I'm not sure where you've been, but I talked to the youth leagues in the area, and we do need more fields and more space. So thank you for putting in that multi-use court, multi-sport court. We're getting there, as far as I'm concerned. You know, I'm going to want more. I'm going to ask you for the $500,000 baseball field, and we'll work our way down together, but that was Beck. So thank you for at least getting that on there and taking some of our comments into consideration. However, I feel like I'm looking, as everybody has said, at the same plan. So I would like you to take in some more consideration, maybe get back to us with some of the public's suggestions. I do like Councilman DeMotor's idea of making it more harmonious with the neighborhood and maybe single-family homes if that's feasible. We did ask that last time. Is it feasible to do them fronting Main Street? I understand what Councilman Munder said. You might be looking at a zero property line, which is all over Montgomery and hitting all over Frederick County now and coming closer in our backyard. So I don't know if that's feasible, if we want that, but at least I'd like to have it addressed. Can I make one comment to that? Sure, it's just the microphone.
I don't believe that State Highway would allow several individual driveways accessing directly onto Main Street.
And then the only other thing I had was to reiterate with what other council members have said. I know that everybody would like to see no more development in this town. We don't want a single home going up, et cetera. I'm looking, I'll say it again, I said it last month. I went to the towns of Mount Airy and looked at those 250 townhomes. I don't believe that ruined our town. I don't believe it brought in crime. So the arguments I'm hearing, we've got townhomes behind the post office, we've got them behind Jimmy Cone. A lot of good families live in these townhomes. So I don't take issue with the townhomes, but I do take issue with the fact that we don't have affordable housing in this town for, we've talked about it, first-time home buyers, seniors, but we're forgetting empty nesters. I know a family, both born and raised here, their families are here. The kids moved out, they moved to Urbana because we don't have a product for them that they can downgrade. That's what I meant when I said the villas. Something that people might not want the big homes anymore. So to add to what Councilman Munder said, we've got the empty nesters that would like to stay in this town where they were either born and raised, they raised their children. So if we can get the affordable product, I think that's a good idea. I just think we have some more questions we need answered. And I just don't know how we can vote on this until, it was my opinion, granted, I was on vacation during that workshop, but I was participating live and on Zoom. I thought we were gonna have another workshop where we would come back and have some of our concerns addressed. So that's my only comment. I was kind of surprised to see this coming in to vote for approval, still with a lot of questions out there. That's all I've got.
Council President Poyer, I have one more quick comment, very quick, if I could offer it.
Go ahead.
So the thing that I missed, my first round, the thing is, this is the first mixed-use development out of the gate. This is precedent-setting to me. This kind of sets the model for future mixed-use developments. So Ron Thompson, you're the designer of this community. You're also working on the design for the Beck property. So I look at this and I say, you know, if I approve this and then we start working on the Beck property and I bring up ideas and suggestions, I could see you say for the Becks, well, that was good enough for Green Tree. Why are you making me do this extra stuff here? That was good enough. So this is going to set the template for all other mixed-use developments. And I have to believe, guys, that you can take more of these townhomes out and give more open space and still make it financially profitable to you. It's just not good enough right now. I know you can do more than this, and I'm concerned that this is going to set the precedent for the next development, and I don't like it. I think you can do more, and I'm expecting more from this. And I would add, and I'm just being honest, I mean, this is part of your legacy. I mean, you're going to be known for putting in the first mixed-use development in Mount Airy. How do you want to be remembered for the property that you put forth down the road? So that's it. Thank you.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay. If he wants to say, and then
I got one more.
Councilmember Munder.
Yeah, I just have one more comment. Nothing negative, but keep in mind also, I'm not going to counter what you said. Keep in mind, people, but I believe, I want to say about 3 to 4 years ago, Carroll County was willing to close one of our elementary schools in this town due to lack of population growth, lack of students, lack of everything. It may have happened, may not, I can't say for sure, but the latest census data has indicated that Mount Airy has hit a population of less than 50% of our population now has school-age kids. So unless we start showing the county, I'm not saying we should approve it just to show the county something, but it's something to consider that if we don't have any in the pipeline growth, potential growth, we could be having that battle again of them wanting to close. Right now, with talks, as one of the ladies said, the elementary schools in this town does have capacity to at least to absorb this. I can't say for Beck or anything of that nature. Between the two elementary schools currently, there's approximately 300 open seats there. The middle school is a different thing because Carroll County, unfortunately, New Windsor was the unlucky town that got their school closed, and they shipped the kids, some of the kids that went up there down here. So the middle school is approximately, according to the county, 94% at capacity and will be for the foreseeable future. So I can't say if the middle school can handle any influx of new kids. That's something that this council also has to take into consideration, is that for one reason or other, the schools are good here. And part of the reason is the dual elementary school on the Carroll County side. So I'm going to do as best I can to try and keep that in the future for future generations. So that's something that we have to take into consideration too. It's just not growth, it's just not the type of homes. We're trying to make sure this town stays viable for future generations and for our future kids. I'm not saying I'm totally keen on this plan, not the changes that can be made. I would be interested to see what, if any, changes are proposed to come back with, take into consideration what was said here tonight, and again, as might change, but as of now, that's all I gotta say, sorry. That's it.
I have a question for Ron and Frank. Several of the council members have mentioned that, what?
No, I was saying
that the suggestions that were presented at the last workshop were not incorporated. Do you all want to address that and explain why? Is there any particular reason?
Last workshop, according to the process, is a workshop that then brings the plan to the council for consideration. If we were to make changes in that plan, it would necessitate another workshop per the code. We're not allowed to, and I believe the mayor was very specific. The plan presented is the plan that needs to come back. No changes, don't make a bait and switch in the plan, which is correct. So we
follow the process. That's why we didn't make any changes to it.
Okay.
Well, you can't, that's not what I said. I said you present, give us the plan that you're going to present at the workshop. And you gave us that plan the day before the workshop. And I said, make sure that we get the plan that we're going to see, that we're going to be working with well before the workshop.
That was Beck, right? That was Beck, not Green Tree.
Okay, well, if there were changes that needed to be made on this one, I can't recall that I said something that said that you couldn't change that. I expected to see a different plan too.
I submitted that plan to John in order for him to post for the meeting.
Okay.
He had that plan in hand shortly after the May council meeting.
I think, back to the mayor's point, so I think it was, if it was back to Beck, we wanted a plan in hand prior to scheduling any kind of a workshop. So a change plan or a plan for review prior to scheduling a workshop needed to be in our hands 30 days in advance, I think is what you
Yeah.
offered on.
All right, well, maybe missed the communication.
So if we were going to make a change from the workshop plan, then that means that there would need to be another workshop scheduled. And go back through the process.
Are you, like, I don't want to interrupt Councilwoman Reed if she has something else. It's funny that this comes up because I had a scenario like this, and Tom and I talked about this in some emails, and Tom can correct me if I'm paraphrasing incorrectly. Sorry, Tom, I know you like to stay out when you can and not offer opinions, but I think this goes along with what we were discussing in it, because I was afraid that to get changes or something, some vote would have to be taken or it would mess up the process. And I think Tom indicated that if the changes were minor in nature that we were requesting, which I think, I'm not sure if how to classify that, another workshop may not be required to make those changes and bring it back to the council for a vote or consideration in September. Does that sound?
Yeah, I mean, I've expressed this before.
Yeah.
It depends on the changes. I mean,
Yeah.
going back to a wholesale new plan, I think it's got to go back.
Yeah, so it's.
Tweaking something, and I know that's in the eye of the beholder. I don't think that every tweak requires you to go back and have a brand-new workshop.
But if they have followed the process that we set out. We can't, if we allow them to tweak and we don't have a workshop, the community is going to be very upset.
Yeah.
So we're following the process set out in the code.
So if I may, maybe I'm misinterpreting this, but it sounds like to me, if we want any changes to be made to this plan, we essentially have to take a vote on it tonight or at some point, because if it gets approved, it moves forward, and if it doesn't get approved, that triggers them to go back and make these changes that many of us have asked for. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like we need to take a vote if we want to see something different. Is that correct?
I don't necessarily agree with that. What the ordinance says is that there is a joint workshop and the matter comes before the council for an approval or disapproval or whatever. And one of the things that the council could say is, I'm not ready to vote one way or the other because I want this change and I want that change. Now, again, if it's a wholesale change in the plan, I want, something completely different, then yeah, I think you've got to go back to the beginning. But if you're talking about, a little here, a little there, there's nothing in the ordinance to me that contemplates redoing the whole thing.
Okay, so can I ask?
But they've got to come back to the body that's told them, you need to make these changes or I am not voting for it, to satisfy you that they have made the changes. Because at the end of the day, under the ordinance, this is the body that votes, at least at this stage, on this plan.
Okay. So again, what constitutes a major or minor change? My changes requested are taking out a block of townhomes, putting in single-family homes on Main Street, and adding more buffer green space between commercial and the residential homes. And I think on the single-family homes on Main Street, you could make a back channel access so you wouldn't have to have driveways on the Main Street. But, so those are the changes I would want to see. Are those major or minor? Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Say that would be a pretty major change.
Okay. That's what I needed to know.
So I guess what
Okay.
spotting needs to
So-
hear, you gonna make it or not?
I think yours are, I politely disagree, but I think yours are major. I think mine are minor.
Right,
And I think what Councilwoman Galetti had mentioned is also fairly minor as well. However, if Councilmember Demoter, you want to see that change, then I think we need to vote. Okay?
Sure.
Okay. All those in favor of the revised Green Tree MXUCC pre-concept sketch plan, say aye. All those opposed? Nay.
I abstain for this one.
You're here to vote.
Well, okay, then I'll say yay for it because of my basis for the objective.
You didn't have to, that was peer pressure. You
No,
didn't
no,
have
it's
to do
not
that.
peer pressure at all. I was gonna, if a force was,
I'm gonna go back to his abstention. That's okay.
that's fine.
He only did that because I
Peer
coached
pressure.
him. That's fine. All right. I know. All right, we're moving on. You guys like to talk. Recommendation for approval of Prospect Road improvements contract to widen the road near Main Street. Barney Quinn.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we bid out the project for widening Prospect Road. Again, this is like what we did on Center Street coming down to Main Street, having a dedicated left, dedicated right to address the failing intersection. And we received just a single bid, though we did have a lot of interest that, looked at it, but we only received one bid. This one bid does fall within our, estimate range, and we find that to be a good bid. And so therefore we do have budget money for it. So the recommendation is to award it to Bright Construction Group, the single bidder, in the amount of $473,473.
Okay. I'll get to other questions and comments. My first one, Barney, when I'm looking at the bid review tabulation, is it you that goes through and thinks of the project and you go through and you mark up mobilization, what is it, demolition? Demobilization? Oh, sorry, I thought it was a misspelling. My apologies. Traffic control, excavation, or is that the bidder that says, here are the things that we have to do and here is the price?
So we put that into our bid form, and they just fill in the blanks with the numbers.
Okay, all right. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I'd like to go if you don't mind, because I think.
No,
I might
go
be able
ahead.
to, since I always go last, I want to jump in there. So I know the public's going to want to know, if we approve this tonight, when will it start and how long will it take? Because that is a failing intersection at Prospect in Maine, but that's a busy intersection, and a lot of people go out that. There are other ways to go, but do we have any idea of the projection of how long people would be inconvenienced at that intersection? I mean, it's a price to pay to have a better intersection, which we know we need. And nobody can argue that. So just, do you have any idea of the timeframe?
So we gave them 60 days. This involves removing the retaining wall, removing the existing wall, building a new one, about 12 feet over, improving the sidewalk, the handicap ramp, because it's very steep there. Actually have a little switchback so that makes it easier to come down. Moving the one pole right there at the corner, so Potomac Edison's involved. Moving the sidewalk and curb over then adding asphalt. And at the back corner of the parking lot, putting in a drain with a manhole and tying into the existing drain in the middle of the street. So there's a little bit of work involved rather than just,
Right.
pushing a curb over. But 60 days should be plenty of time.
So
once
60
they
days
get
was
started.
the time frame we gave them from start to finish. How soon would they start once approved? Do we know?
I would say probably within a month.
Okay, and then this is a big ask, because I'm, streets and roads. Is there any way to have them avoid doing the work during rush hour? Because it's a very busy intersection of people coming and going to their homes.
Yeah, so anything in the street, we would limit them 9 to 3, similar to what State Highway would do. So
Okay.
not in the morning or evening rush hour. They could work on the sides, but not actually in the street outside that time. So yes, we can do that.
Thank you. Sorry, I was jumping in there because it's a streets and roads thing.
You're allowed, you're allowed.
And one last thing for streets and roads, we would not ever close the entire road, so we'd always have at least one lane moving.
Right, okay.
I have to say, I was going to say I had no comments and it was okay, but now I have a comment. So it's a positive comment. I totally support this. It's critically important we start investing in our Main Street infrastructure and the feeder roads. We really need to do this if we want the Main Street that we all say we want. I totally support it. Thank you.
All right, Barney, two things here. First off, since we're taking out the retaining wall, I see bid item number 6 is replacing the retaining wall. What is Stone Strong?
So Stone Strong is actually a brand, but
Sorry.
think of a very large cinder block. These things are about 6 to 8 feet wide. They're 42 inches thick, about 30 inches tall, I think they are. But they have 2 big openings like a cinder block.
Yeah.
Filled with stone, but they stack on top of each other.
Okay.
The benefit of this type of wall, you don't have to put geogrid in that goes back. So it would be a lot extra excavating if you put in just a normal retaining wall.
Okay, how about the face of the concrete block facing the road? Is it going to mimic what is there existing, the stacked stone look, or is it just going to be like a flat concrete face?
So they do have different faces. We can look into that's to be determined.
Okay.
But to give an example, there is just a single layer of those stones in front of the caboose. So on the lower side facing the brewery.
Okay, yeah.
That's actually Stone Strong product right there.
Okay.
Another place is in Green Tree. That back wall that backs to Candace Estates.
Oh, you mean not Green Tree, Sterling Glen.
Sorry.
I was like, wait a minute, there's no
Sterling
retaining
Glen.
wall there yet.
Sterling Glen, that backs to Candace Estates. There's a
Yeah.
wall in people's backyards. That's also a Stone Strong product.
Okay, I'm
Similar wall.
Okay, I'm just concerned that we'll end up with a flat concrete face. That's good.
Comments?
Yeah, back to what Councilman Munder was saying, I think it's important because that corner is visible to everyone in that intersection, that we should at least pick something that looks aesthetically pleasing.
Sure.
Not sort of commercial or industrial.
All right. So the town staff recommends the town council to approve the award for the Prospect Road Improvements Contract in the amount of $473,473 to Bright Construction Group. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up is recommendation for approval for the Twin Ridge Stormwater Management Pond Improvements, number 13, contract to bring the pond into compliance. Barney?
Yeah, so this is the pond that's behind Twin Ridge Elementary School, backs behind the residence on Park Ridge Drive also, and next to Baysaver, the industrial lot. So this pond improvement is very similar to the West Ridge pond improvements that we just did. It's basically putting in a pipe that will help move that water out rather than just holding that water at all times.
Okay.
So we did have a good number of bids on this one. The lowest bidder was MJ Farms. I did have to look them up because I haven't used them before. But they have some very good references, and a lot of people highly recommend them. They seem to be popular in Frederick, and so don't see any reason why not to use them. Their bid was $56,000, and this is one of, West Ridge was the first of the 4 ponds that we need to redo that the county's helping us with the designs. And so this is the second pond, and we have $200,000 available for this year. So this is the first $56,000 of that to address the second pond.
Okay. Any comments or concerns?
No, I support it.
Okay. All those in favor for the recommendation awarding to Twin Ridge Management Pond to MJKK Farms in the amount of $56,000. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next up is recommendation for approval of tower lease for Dish Network. Bernie.
Yep, so similar to the tank at the meat locker, we have Verizon, BG&E, and Freedom Broadband on that tower. The Dish Network would like to come down onto the tower behind Dunkin' Donuts, the water tank. And this is the lease agreement for that. It is very similar to the amount that Verizon and BGE are paying currently on the existing tower. And there's one correction in here that they said they'd agree on, but it looks like it did not get changed. The 3% should not apply to the renewal term, which is every 60 months, should be annual.
Can you tell me what page you're on, please?
It is section 2.3 on page 2. Last sentence.
What did they want again, Barney?
Section 2.3, last sentence, it says upon commencement of the renewal, each renewal term, the rent shall be automatically increased by 3%. That should be an annual increase of 3%, not every 5 years.
Okay.
And they did agree to that by email, so I don't see any reason why they wouldn't change that.
Okay.
And then
Some of
Tom
the-
also had a few comments.
Okay, yeah.
with the insurance.
Is that Tom? Is that MT1? Are you the MTs in here? Okay. Master Tom.
Yeah, mainly dealing with the insurance language. Legit typically does not like to add additional insureds who are not themselves government entities. So I did point that out, although I did see an email during this meeting that suggests they may have approved the legit, that is, the insurance provisions. So I think we're good to go with these changes, right? They saw the change.
Right,
version,
I
right?
sent out the insurance section of the lease, and they did
Yep.
approve it. The underwriter looked at it.
Okay. So that was actually some of my questions. Where is it going? Because that wasn't necessarily stated. And did we get answers to all the concerns? Were my only 2 comments that I had on this. Did anyone else have any comments or concerns?
Quick question. I think I'm probably confusing things, but just a question. So quite a few months back, we worked on kind of guidance for like 5G networks and things like a small cell tower. So this is probably a different animal, but is there anything from that guidance that we approved that should be applied here that we're not applying? Or are they 2 separate animals?
So they're not necessarily separate animals. I think this came in prior to us approving that. So we've had this for almost going on a year.
So do we
I don't remember the
need
exact
to,
date that got applied, but
does somebody need to look at this through the lens of that other guidance that we approved to make sure it's doing what we said we wanted to do moving forward?
yeah, and again, I think it's a different animal because this is
Okay.
going on top of a.
All right, that was
water
my
tank
question.
Versus then going on top like a,
Right.
on a pole.
Right.
On
Okay.
And on an existing vacated pad.
Got it.
We're changing one out for the other.
Just want to see if it had any application.
Yeah, the Sprint used to be on this tank, and that was their equipment pad that they had, and this is utilizing just half of that equipment pad plus some space on the tank.
And it's not 5G, is that correct? I think it's more for your home satellite television service.
Correct.
Right, so it's not 5G,
Okay.
which is
Yeah.
the small cell.
Are you done? Okay. Yeah, that's, John asked, town planner asked the same question. I was trying to figure out what the antenna was going to be used for, but it sounds like it's supplemental to satellite reception or TV reception, I guess.
Correct.
Okay, so, all right, yeah. 'Cause I did-
We do have a section of our code on wireless facilities as far as 112.19 that does go over a couple of those things. But regardless, we're also approving this. All those in favor of the tower lease for Dish Network, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, next up, Councilwoman Galetti, council approval to pursue outside services related thereto, team building and effective communication.
Yeah, just briefly, the town in the past has employed Kelly Frager Professional Development and Training. She has worked with the town, with both the council, the mayor, and town staff, going all the way back to 2013, in various workshops on communication, civility, working together as a team, which we are. We're a team that needs to continue to work together. As you know, in an office, on a team, anywhere you go, there's going to be different people, different personalities. So I would like the council to approve pursuing basically a plan and a bid from Kelly Frager to work with this council to focus on these are ideas that came out of contacting her to get information. Dynamic communication, conflict, candor, and trust, and optimizing the council's dynamics and rules of engagement. So based on our past history for almost 10 years, past council and mayors working with her, again, with council, the mayor, and staff, I'd like to pursue that to have her put together some workshops for this council and mayor.
Okay.
So are you right now, you're just looking to pursue getting the bid?
Getting a bid, yes. That's what I was asked to do, put it on this agenda to get council approval to ask her to put together a plan and a bid for the workshops and to get that from her for our September meeting, way prior to our September meeting for everybody to review.
Okay. Did you have any comments? Mr. Mayor, I do see you. Let me let Councilmember Demoter, and then I'll let you, sir. Or
I was just gonna-
regardless.
Look how civil we are up here. So
See, it's working already.
It's working, it's great. No, I support this. We'll figure out, what the funding has come through my discretionary fund. I'd be okay with that. I think it's important that we meet in an atmosphere that is not bound by this agenda and just, kind of figure out if there's ways that we can better communicate. So I appreciate your efforts on it, and I support it. So.
Thank you.
Councilmember Demoter.
So, this is kind of stream of consciousness here. So, I mean, I'm always supportive of continuous improvement and always working to be better. It's kind of like going to church. It reminds you of the person you should be and how you should be doing things, and it keeps you on your curbstones. I guess my one question would be what would be a ballpark cost, and I guess we'll find that out. Another thing would be, if I were a citizen, on one hand, I'd want this. On the other hand, some citizens may look at this and say, so I need to spend my taxpayer dollars for someone to sit down with you guys and teach you how to work together better. I don't know that some citizens would support that. It's a shame we can't just, on our own, which I think some of us are trying to do, is just get to know each other better, learn how to work together better. This seems like something we could be doing on our own as part of our role as a council member or as the mayor. So I would certainly welcome participating in such a thing. it's a shame to me we have to spend money to go sit down with somebody and have them remind us of how we should be working together. The last point is, this is just kind of where we're at as a council. I mean, you think about it, there hasn't been much that's changed over the last 10 to 15 years. And now we have we have proposed developments, we have the Flatiron Building, we have all these issues. And it's changed and it requires us to debate and deliberate. And we're not always going to agree on things. And it's not a personal thing. I've seen a lot of feedback that says this is all personal. This is to me policy setting and policy differences that arise and you work through, but you do it professionally. So just some thoughts. The other thing is I've known the mayor for, I don't know, what, 15 years?
At least.
And we served in Boy Scouts together. We've been friends for a long time. Larry taught me how to do Dutch oven cooking in Boy Scouts. The Dutch oven cooking competition we won't talk about.
Let's not talk about that.
But the point is, I think we're a little more friendly than people seem to think. And I think there's a lot of rhetoric out there that says all of this is personal and trying to do this and that. I'm just speaking for myself. It's professional. We have professional policy differences, and we need to work through these, and they're tough decisions. And you're going to have disagreements, but hopefully we can do that professionally on behalf of the town. So those are thoughts.
Did you have comments?
Just a couple quick ones. First off, Councilmember Letty and I talked about this, and I'm for it. Sometimes, as I said, I'm willing to give a shot. Let's try and get the quote and move forward. And sometimes you just need outside set of eyes to see something. So I'm game. I sent her something to try and solve this problem, and she said, it's funny, I should send it because she was already working on it, so I'll let her run with it. And for Councilman DeMotor, I believe the camp night that is coming up next weekend, I believe the Boy Scouts are doing a Dutch oven cooking competition. So by that comment, are you going to enter it as an alum?
I considered it last year, but I forget what happened last year. I was uncertain about the camping. But I'll think about it.
I mean the Dutch oven cooking.
I understand.
Okay, all right.
Cook that pumpkin cake again.
And the chicken enchiladas.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Good. I'm done.
It's not even late. All right, let's get to this. All those in favor of council approval to pursue outside services for team building and effective communication signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. All right, just a reminder, September Town Council meeting rescheduled is for Monday, September 12th, 2022. I believe at that time, we also have a public hearing scheduled at 6:45, so please add that to your calendar. Just a reminder about the Firemen's Parade will take place on Thursday, August 4th. I believe the start time is 6 p.m. Sounds good. All right, back to scheduled charter amendment workshops. Our last workshop was canceled due to an attendance concern. And we are back at it for number 3. I think we're stuck in the middle of number 3.
Council President Poirier, the only time for this month of August that I would currently aware that I'm unavailable for is the week of the 22nd.
Anybody else available on the week of the 22nd? Just kidding.
Hey, I could call in, but I'm
trying to work with you here.
Man, I know.
I actually have the same. I'm not going to be available that week either, so that doubles up on that.
Okay. I am sad to report my school starts soon.
Oh, it is August.
I mean, I love going to school, sorry.
When does Howard County start?
August 18th.
Frederick's the 17th.
So how about August 15th?
I cannot do the 15th, sorry.
I'm afraid I can give you a list of days that it's only a handful of them, 10, 17, 18, 31st, or 1st or 2nd.
Those are good days?
So the 10th.
Those are the good days for me.
Did you say 19 or no?
No, 10, 17, 18, 31, 1, and 2.
All right.
Bingo.
18,
Bingo or lottery numbers.
10? 10.
10?
That works for me.
That works for me.
I just won't be here. I'll be on vacation.
But you got to run it.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it from a telephone.
Oh, okay, all right. Good enough.
Okay.
Okay.
Time?
6:30?
Yeah.
No canceling.
Okay.
I will try not to.
That was not directed at anyone.
No, I'm
Just
not.
a guilty party answer.
No, I'll tell you later.
All right, what did I say, 6:30?
Yeah.
All right, 6:30 to 7:30, we're finishing number 3. Then the next one, we're going to do 4, 5, and 6 all together. Just kidding. All right, next up, Mr. Mayor, do you have any appointments or reappointments?
I do not this.
All right. All right, ordinances and resolutions. First up is ordinance 2022-23. This is a budget amendment to reallocate and add $13,250 for the radar speed signs. This is up for adoption. Councilmember Demoter?
Yes, again, this is, I had worked with the town staff to put this together on behalf of the police department and on behalf of Streets and Roads and Main Street Safety Task Force. This is merely, we're still getting 3 radar units. We're just getting an upgraded model that gives us better capability, better educational visibility. And it's not, we're not asking for $13,000 of new money. We're kind of moving money around because it has to go from, I forget, it has to go to capital costs because the cost of each unit is greater than $3,000. So bottom line, it's good for safety, good for the whole town. We'd already budgeted for these. We're just getting an upgraded model, and I would ask all of you for support for safety purposes. Thank you.
I was actually going to ask you if you wanted to introduce it.
Okay. We'll do that.
Saves the time.
I am introducing it.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Munder seconds. Is there any further discussion on 2022-23?
I just have a quick question for Councilman Demoter here. If I'm reading this correct, the total cost is $13,000 up from $7,000, so we're just like $6,000 more?
Exactly. It's
somewhere around there?
$6,000 in additional funding.
Okay, all right, as you said, it's convoluted because we're moving money around. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, cool.
The cost went up more than $3,000 per unit.
Does anyone else have any other questions or concerns?
I just have a comment.
Sure.
To add to Councilman Munder's. We are also, because it was on the general fund and now it's got to go to the capital fund, we're taking it, removing $7,230 from the general fund, right?
Correct.
And we're adding it, the $13,250. So we are he is asking for an additional $6,000 from what was
Correct.
approved, just being switched from general to capital. And this is in the chief's budget, and I think they left, but I think they made a comment, we might have gotten a little bit of a discount.
Yeah, I think
On what?
because we got 3 units and the packages that we
So
got.
worst-case scenario would be the 13.25, but I believe it's coming in below that, as I was literally told tonight. Late-breaking news.
So does this replace any of the ones that we currently have? I believe we have 2 models.
No.
So this
This
adds
is-
on, so now
this
we'll
adds
go up to
on.
5?
Well, the Public Works has the ones that they use for streets and roads, and the chief wanted to get 2 of his own, which he budgeted for, talking through the budget process. He did budget, and then Councilman Demoter asked for an additional one for his Main Street Task Force.
Which we
So it's in
which we
addition, and they will be, in the chief's budget, the Main Street one, hopefully if it's approved by the state, will be a permanent one on Main Street as a speed deterrent.
Okay.
The other 2 will be used in conjunction with Public Works. And Corporal Brooks, I think he left, has actually spoken with Public Works about calibrating and getting it all. Should be able to get them pretty quickly within a month or two. So hopefully we'll get those going and get them up and running.
this
But
is-
it's in
this is the
addition, to answer.
plan. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, answer your question, it's in addition to.
So then we would have
Five.
5 total.
Right, but the one
These
on Main
3
Street will not be data collecting. The other 4 will continue to be data collecting.
Okay,
And the chief is getting upgraded from what we have, so that'll help supplement some of what Streets and Roads requests, plus a lot of the calls that the police department gets for some of their traffic monitoring too.
okay. Sorry, let me just finish really quickly. And I've already spoken to you about my concern with the overtime already, in addition to the other expenditures, and trying to figure out safety, and I know that you're a safety guy. I would politely request, if the mayor says so, that it's okay, that we get some Main Street data from the overtime that has been approved. This would allow, I think, probably 2, maybe 3 months of those officers trying to supplement that overtime and be on Main Street, just to see what does it look like. Have they pulled people over more frequently, or are they not pulling anybody over and there's just a car sitting on Main Street? I think I would like that, to have that information, if the mayor allows the chief to work on that.
So as
Sure.
of right now, you would only have 1 month of data because the budget just went into effect. So if you
Yeah.
want 2 or 3 months, it would have to wait
Okay.
until October.
Yeah, could I quickly,
Yeah.
I think I have an answer here. So what's going to happen is, I think in September, we're going to have another Main Street Safety Task Force meeting. And the plan is for Officer Brooks to come back to the task force and say, okay, we got some extra hours of patrolling on Main Street. We have speed studies. We have now, hopefully, this additional radar sign that we're going to put out for educational purposes. He's going to say, here's an optimized strategy for where we're going to put the new radar sign, the hours that we're going to do more patrolling that are targeted when we know there are the most people traveling down Main Street, et cetera. So to me, we need this equipment now so that we can implement a plan that includes putting this out and starting the additional enforcement on Main Street. We haven't started that yet. So to me, it's a package plan that we approve and just get going. And again, recall, this entire plan we approved during the budget discussions about getting these 3 monitors. All we're doing here is just, we're getting some that have better visibility, different colors, people are going to see them better, they're going to react to them better. That's the idea of the extra $6,000. So I don't think we should wait to try and get data. We should implement a whole plan and get it moving.
I think by September at least, and you are right, Councilwoman Reed, August 1st is today. Having some of that data come back to the council, I think would at least reassure that overtime was well spent. I will just add, I think you have the support. I think it's too much. I think it sort of goes along the lines of, at least in my view, effective communication. I think people make a choice to do one thing or another thing, I just have a different view and a different opinion about that, so.
And a last quick comment, I actually spoke with Officer Brooks when we were doing the Pack the Cruiser, and I had donated some food, and he and I agree, and it's in our objective statement on the task force, is everything we would do, we want to measure improvement. We want to be able to measure that what we're doing is making a difference or not. So that's one of our core values of the task force. So I think that'll address exactly what you're looking for.
I appreciate it, thank you. So all those in favor of the budget amendment to reallocate and add $13,250 for radar speed signs, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Next up is ordinance 2022-24. This is a budget amendment to add 1.3 million for I&I projects. This is also up for adoption. Council members, if you remember, I believe it was last month, we needed to move money, clean up our budget. We're re-putting this back in to make sure that we finish the projects. Does anyone have any concerns or questions for Barney or Katie?
No real questions, but I'll beat Councilwoman Galetti to this. Just want to throw out that it is ARPA money still. So, so you're welcome. So it's just, as I say, we're re-putting it back in the budget because we took it out, and it's still the same funding source.
Nothing changed.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up is ordinance 2022-25. These are changes to the ordinance provisions related to MXD. This is up for introduction. Does anyone want to make any comments before we introduce?
And referral to the.
Or, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That was not on my paper. I apologize. It is on my thing, for referral for planning. All right. Not hearing or seeing any.
I do have comments,
Okay.
but per previous discussion.
Sure.
Council President, do you want comments now or after you take the first? and-
You can go, because
Now?
if it gets seconded, it's off to planning.
Okay. So I'll just hit some high points on this. I have concerns because I think by introducing a new MXD ordinance, you're doing this in the middle of the process. You already have Beck and others who were in a process developing pre-concept sketch plans, and now you're going to change the rules of the game on them midstream. And I'm concerned that we could be opening ourselves up to challenges. I'm also concerned because the focus of this is on the residential component. And I say that instead of MXD, this is MHD. It's mixed housing development. 95% of what you're proposing is just giving percentage categories of, you can only do X percent townhomes, X percent apartments, X percent single-family homes, et cetera. You're also upping the open space requirement to, I thought, 40 or 50%. So this is such a major change. A couple other comments. I always look at things and ask myself, what's the intended and unintended consequence of the changes you're proposing? And I think now it's almost like kids running to the soccer ball. We had such a concern about Beck East and how that was going to be overly dense. Now we're running to the soccer ball on that issue, and we're trying to say, no, you can't have all townhomes. This is going to lay out percentages of different housing types. And you're overly focused on that. You're not talking about the commercial component. I'm concerned if this moves forward, you're going to ruin what we're trying to accomplish on Beck West, which is true MXD, which is true apartments, townhomes, some shopping, walkability, plazas, true MXD. That's what we wanted for the west side of center of Beck West. That's what the downtown vision plan calls for. So those are concerns. The last point I'll make is flexibility. I typically, in my career, I'm retired now, but I never liked over-regulation. I like clean, crisp requirements, but any additional guidance you have on how to comply should be in technical standards, guidance documents. They're non-requirements documents. It's recommendations. And so what I would like the Planning Commission to consider and us to consider is, rather than making this a new ordinance, take all of your guidance about percentages of different home types, package that up in a guidance document, call it what you want, but it's a guidance document. And then in our MXD ordinance, under purpose and objectives, we have a lot of qualitative type statements that we all discussed earlier about has to be attractive in this way, has to fit into the community. Those are all very qualitative kinds of things, but yet we can use those in making our decision on approving a pre-concept plan. Why not simply put a statement in our MXD ordinance that says, you must demonstrate conformity with the housing percentages and types as contained in Guide XYZ. You make that standalone. You're not messing too much with our MXD ordinance as is. You're keeping flexibility. And the developers will have to come back and show that they've looked at our housing percentages and have made a good faith effort to try and meet them. And if they don't, then we can hold that against them in our approval process. So I don't like what we're doing timing-wise, midstream. I don't like over-regulating. I would like people to consider putting this in a guide and taking an approach that I just laid out. It keeps flexibility with MXD, which is what you were trying to accomplish, and I don't want to mess up what we're trying to do on the west side of Beck, because, and I'll openly say it, and I've said it before, I totally support the downtown vision plan, and that means I support seeing something happen on Center Street. I think that would be beneficial to the town. It needs to just be done smartly. Those are my comments.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so I'm going to mirror what Councilmember Demoter said. I don't think changing the rules of engagement in the middle or once the process starts, I think it sets us up for a lawsuit. I will also mention that the 5 people that voted unanimously yes to MXD are actually sitting in this room. Mayor Hushhour, Councilman Munder, Councilman Poyer, myself, and our past Councilwoman Patty Washaball. We all said yes to it. So if we had questions or doubts or concerns, we should have talked about it 2 years ago when we passed the ordinance unanimously. So I don't think changing it now is appropriate. If the Becks can't bring us something that we can agree to let go to the next stage, then the Becks will have to leave. And at that point, the ordinance can be rewritten, but you can't do it once the process starts. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Councilwoman Galetti, did you have any comments?
No, everybody's covered my comments.
Okay, all right. Do you want to introduce?
I will introduce ordinance 2022-25 related to MXD as titled. Before I do anything, I just want to tag on Councilmember Mundo. I'm just going to explain my thoughts really quickly. That if we send this to planning, it's going to come back to us for then an adoption, which if we don't like, or they maybe did not take the suggestions that Councilmember Demoter had done, then we can vote to disapprove. I don't maybe see any harm in sending this to planning to maybe capture what Councilmember Demoter's ideas were. I think he shared some great ideas as far as having a guidance document that goes along with that. And this just clarifies, I think, some setbacks and percentages. I don't think there's any harm in sending it and then coming back to us, and if we don't like it, then we can vote to not approve it. Go ahead.
The only thing I would say, a guidance statement holds no legal weight.
No, as council.
Like they're still just bound to the ordinance and the code.
Right, but as I said, if you look at what we have now, our purpose and objective statements are all pretty qualitative, and yet we're allowed to use those qualitative judgment statements in approving or not approving a pre-concept plan. So I understand the concern, well, it's not is heavy-handed, but I think it will accomplish what we're trying to accomplish, but yet not mess up the MXD ordinance that you have now and potentially impact what's in play right now. I just always think about intended and unintended consequences, and I don't support moving this forward. I sense it will, and I hope we can see some changes to it when it comes back to us.
So the other thing, again, if a guidance statement was necessary, it should have been presented at the time the original MXD was passed, because a guidance statement is sort of still changing the rules to developer. We can't say no based on a guidance statement.
I hear you, and I know we shouldn't debate here. I'm using my experience at Department of Energy, where we were self-regulating. We had very high-level specific requirements, and everything else as to the how-tos was in guidance documents, technical standards, things like that. And the system, it worked. So I'm just taking that model here. But I totally understand, Councilmember Reed, the initial reaction is, well, that's just guidance, you don't have to follow it. But I understand, I see your points.
Right.
All right, is there a second? All right, go ahead.
Unless you want a second, and I'm going to just throw it out there that anything that's in here, setback-wise and everything else, is in already existing code. So there is nothing really new. I believe Tom has given us legal advice on many occasions that Maryland itself is what's known as what the best I can say is a developer has no vested interest really until shovel hits dirt type of state. I can't think of the correct legal term for that. So it is changing, but it's not anything that would be hateful. It incorporates many of the things that the developer has, maybe not as detailed as this goes, specifically into like setbacks and things, into the redesign of the second plan. So I believe it should have a second, at least to get it to planning and get it. If not, it'll be back and we'll go from there. But I believe it should be second and moved. It addresses a lot of the concerns, things that we could have brought up, fixed previously that were not. Still allows for development. It puts the town back in control, in my view, of a lot of aspects of Beck East and Beck West or this property. So I'm willing to take the chance.
I'll second.
With it. Yeah.
It's off to planning.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No problem. Hey, I've talked enough. Somebody has to get tired of me eventually. Just second
politely telling you to stop.
May I make a final comment, Council President?
Yes.
There is another approach, and people may not like it, but instead of doing that, we're in the middle of a master plan redo process, and we're still in the cycle. Somebody could go back and request that the east side of Beck get rezoned, not to MXD, but to something else. Rezone it to R2, then it would be all single-family homes on good-sized lots. There may be a challenge to that, but I'm just saying, and I've talked to our town attorney about this, since we are still in the master plan cycle, somebody could come in, one of us, and say, I want that east side rezoned. I don't want an MXD. I want to change it to R2. You'd have to have an argument for it, but that's another approach. And quite honestly, in my mind, the west side of Beck is truly MXD. The east side, to me, it's a little bit of a stretch, but the developer is looking at that entire parcel, east and west, as MXD. I'm just saying, it's another approach. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is the Charter Amendment Resolution 2022-2. This is finance, budgeting, and purchasing. This is the public hearing scheduled on Monday, September 12th at 6:45. I already reminded everybody of that. All right, next up is unfinished business. This is council approval to seek outside counsel related thereto, the Flatiron Building. Are there any comments before we take a vote?
The mayor has this talking stick.
Oh, talking stick. Go for it.
I appreciate it. I want you to know I'm not taking anything personal this evening. I appreciate you getting up and speaking earlier today, but I just wanted to comment on a couple of things that you had said. You are correct in January, when we did look at the building with Preservation Maryland, I was in favor of trying to build a replica in that site. The reason for that is because Preservation Maryland at the previous meeting, which I think Councilwoman Washabaugh was at that one, and I forget the young lady's name, but she stated that Preservation Maryland would do something to assist in building a replica. We found out in our meeting that that was not the case, and that's Nicholas Redding was there, and he's the head of Preservation Maryland. So that took that off of the table. Second thing is the concerns about the sidewalk. We had not seen Larry Vallee's plan at that point, but now we have, and we see that, you know, this is one of those compromise things where you sit there and say, can I get something? And that something is safe pedestrian passage potentially under the Flatiron and in effect extending that sidewalk to go underneath the building. So that was not something that was on the table in January. That entered the table in May during Larry's presentation. So, you know, you brought up valid concerns, and it's another trade-off as far as if we would be willing to give up those parking spots or not to, while we are researching if we would be able to go underneath the building to see if it's structurally sound enough to do that. And then the other thing that you brought up, and people need to know what the cost is in dollars. When we lost Legit as insurance, and I know that you were operating in a manner that you felt you should have, and Legit came in and canceled that property insurance on us. It was $275 annually. So that's all that we're talking about. And we went back in. When I found out that Legit had canceled the insurance, I went to Nicholas Redding at Preservation Maryland. He gave us some options on who could insure the building. So we went back and we found out that there's something called vacant building insurance, property insurance, that would cover that Flatiron building. And the cost of that did go up. It went up to about $800 annually, and I think we can absorb that. So that's the dollar figures that we're talking about when we talk about the insurance. So as you know, because I put it out there, I am trying to put together this Flatiron Task Force. First meeting being August 11th here in Town Hall, and we'll see who shows up. There are some key members, Larry Vallee being one of them, the Historical Society's president, Mike Eco being one of them, and a couple other citizens. We'll get together and we'll go ahead and start moving. We understand that after tonight, we may be wasting our time, but it's our time to waste, and we think the building is important enough to go down this process and see if there is a manner to restore that building and to see if it's plausible to create that walkway underneath it. It's not perfect. It's not what I wanted initially, and I know it's not what you want. But I think that with the group of people, and like I said, I've campaigned, I've gone door to door 3 times in the last 5 years. Certainly gone door to door twice in the last year. And in my heart of hearts, I know that had I gone door to door, knocking on doors and saying, and the first thing I'm going to do is take down that Flatiron building, I wouldn't have gotten as many votes as I did. The people want the building saved. They want it saved because it means something to them. It is the heritage. Unfortunately, I had to miss Oscar Baker's funeral, but one of the best pictures that my wife sent me was coming down Main Street in the funeral procession and looking at the Flatiron Building in the middle of it. I'm not trying to make it emotional, although I realize that it could be inferred by that. But what I am saying is that that's part of Mount Airy. It may be a mole, it may be a wart, it may, call it what you will, but it's part of Mount Airy. It's always been here, and, since 1903. Do what you're gonna do. It's fine, and, and we'll just take it from there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do you have comments? I was going to call a vote.
Okay. Yeah, just a couple comments, and again, just to kind of frame this out a little more, and I'm not sure how much the citizens are aware, but I mean, I understand there are people that want to save the Flatiron Building, but I just want to remind everybody, in 2019, the town published the Downtown Vision Plan. That vision plan, that whole initiative started, if you look at the plan and the objectives, it says one of the main objectives was to reconcile the safety issues that we currently have with our downtown Main Street in terms of lack of walkability, pedestrian safety, and issues associated with that building. And through heavy stakeholder involvement, multiple workshops, multiple charrettes of 40 and 50 people at a time with public involvement, recommendations in the Downtown Vision Plan, there are two main recommendations. One was revitalize Center Street, and they had recommendations on that. The other one was to remove the Flatiron Building because of the safety concerns and replace it with a new building that would address the safety issues and provide for more economic vitality. And Larry, of course, as you know, you were on the steering committee for that, as well as, I think, Mike Echo, if I'm saying the name correctly, from the Historical Society. So my point is, and many others who are in this room and part of commissions, so if it was so critical to save that building, why did that not come up during that whole vision plan? The citizens were heavily involved in that process and that recommendation that came out of it. And then the second point, not going to beat the survey to death. We have different views on that, but my point is, most of the people who took that survey said, I want the building down and I want to see something else in place of that building. I'll add this in. Don't even look at the survey questions, but if you look at the written comments that were provided, we got about 950 write-in comments, which are just as valuable as the individual questions. Of those write-in comments, by a ratio of 3-to-1, any comment about the Flatiron Building, 3 comments were saying take it down, to 1 comment that said save it. And then there was another group of people that I couldn't put in either bin, but those comments were, I don't care what you do, but make a decision. Stop kicking the can down the road. So I'm just providing a different perspective that says you have had citizen engagement. You've had a lot of citizen input through the vision plan and through the survey. It's frustrating to me that as a town, we spend all this money, we do studies, we write plans, all of the staff time to work on these things, all of the citizen time to actually participate, and then we don't follow through with what the plan says or what the citizens already told us. And that's a very frustrating thing to me as a council member being on this council is we do all this work and then we just poo-poo it and we do something else. Why even do any plans or studies? Let's not do any more in the future if we're not going to follow them. Thank you.
So, Larry, I'm going to address something, and I will apologize, and I will be as nice as possible, but I think it needs to be addressed. Last month, we had a closed meeting, and we talk about a lot of things in closed meetings. but those meetings are closed for a reason. The information that we talk about is supposed to stay at this table, our town attorney, and the few people that are allowed in the room. Council's purpose for having that meeting was to seek information as to what our options were, because you are not honoring the original council vote. It was fact-finding. But you took that privileged information and went to the community and stirred the community up to the point where for 2 days now, today, we've had police patrolling our homes. I am sorry, but I have an issue with that.
Okay, well, I'll rebut that. It was at the June open meeting that Councilmember Demoter said that we should seek a legal recourse to see if the mayor is correct in doing this. So that was not discussed in a closed meeting. That was presented at the June meeting, that there should be some legal action that would go up against the mayor. Again, I'm not taking anything personal anymore, okay? So I get what you're saying, but I differ in opinion with you. I don't think I leaked anything to the public other than to put out there that the council is considering legal action against me, and it's on the agenda.
This is
So
a very blanket statement. It doesn't.
it is a very blanket
It's a very
statement.
blanket statement. That statement could mean a lot of things.
Okay, so what are you going to vote on tonight?
How do you know which way we're going to vote?
No, I'm saying, what is the motion going to
Well,
be?
the point is you leaked privileged information that we talked about in a.
It wasn't
closed
privileged
meeting.
because it came out in June. It wasn't privileged because it's on the agenda tonight.
If I may add a comment. I think some of the information that you shared, Larry, through your porch talks and maybe on Facebook, you started talking about the high cost to the town and how this is going to cost, this is going to be a waste and cost thousands of dollars. And I don't know where you got that information, but I have a sense that was through a private conversation, and I didn't think it was appropriate to be sharing that. I'm just being very sincere. And you and I had a coffee, and I brought these issues up, so I think it's okay to bring them up now. I expressed to you at that time, I said, we can have policy differences, and we can disagree on policy issues and work through those professionally. But when you start gaslighting the community and saying some of the stuff you've been saying, you rile people up. And there are Facebook posts saying, let's go protest at the council members' homes. And that's why we now have police surveillance and protection at our homes. I truly believe that. So let's talk about policy and differences. But I am disappointed that the way you've communicated about this, I agree with Councilmember Reed. You've stirred up the pot to where people are coming with torches and pitchforks to council meetings and on Facebook, and I don't think that's bringing the town together. I don't think it's the way to act.
Well, isn't it possible that the people are riled up because a vote occurred at like 11 o'clock at night? Isn't it possible that the people are riled up because a council member referred to them as uneducated and uninformed? Isn't it possible that maybe it's not me? I spent a lot of time looking in the mirror, and I'm willing to accept my role, and I'm willing to sit here and take some shots for words that I put out, but I think this council table needs to accept their role as well, because the people are not fired up because of anything I did. They're fired up because of October, November growth that has come along, my appointments that continuously get delayed or denied. I mean, that's why they're fired up. You can spin it however you want, but, I'll share the blame, but I'm not going to take the blame. I'll share it. That's why we're having a civility course.
Can I just say that backs up our need for, and I want to go back to that, if you don't mind, Mayor, for 1 second. So I didn't address it before, and I will now. Councilman Demoter pointed out that citizens might be upset that we're spending money to do team building and teamwork, but I'd like to know anybody that works in private industry, in the federal government, in the state government, in the county government, that does not have continuing professional education, right? I got an ex-federal employee giving me a thumbs up out there. So it does happen. It's a normal standard operating procedure to have continuing professional education, private, government. This is not out of the ordinary, and this is not something this town has not done in the past. So it can only benefit us. And I'd like to continue, if I may, Council President.
Go ahead.
I understand what everybody's saying, but I do have to give the mayor credit. I had a conversation with him today. He did put out a video, and if you haven't seen it, it's on social media, addressing the inappropriate, somewhat threats being made to protest at our homes and put out our addresses, et cetera. So you got to give credit where credit is due. The mayor did address that today, and I have to thank you for doing that. Some members, because people work, they might not have seen that yet. But I'd like to, if we could, can I go to the Flatiron Building and give some input on that, since Councilman Demoter had his turn to do that?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
So I'm going to go back to what I've always said. This is not a new topic. It's not a new discussion. Yes, it's been kicked down the curb, kicked down the can, whatever. However, I said it before and I'll say it again. I have not seen a group come forward such as been put together with, and I'm going to say Larry Valet because he headed it, and he got up here and he gave an entire presentation that we asked him for many months ago. And we asked him to come to our May meeting and give a presentation on this large group of citizens that want to at least have the opportunity to save the Flatiron and preserve the Flatiron. So the difference is, and I've said it before, we've had groups come, they complain, they go away. This group did not go away. In fact, they came and made a comprehensive, not even just what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, going down to a grant for this step and that step, a financial plan. So I personally think it was a little disrespectful that we had Mr. Valet come and speak at our meeting, and in the very same meeting voted to tear down the Flatiron. I did not vote for that. So I do think that we have to remember as a council what you all keep saying, and I'm going to put it back on you. We represent the citizens in this town. And I sat on my vacation this weekend and read the petition that was circulated around town, I think, at the end of last year, early this year. And I'm going to try to get through this, but former council member Washaba, thank you so much for doing that to me. Oscar Baker's name jumped out at me as a person who signed that petition. So I'm representing these citizens, the Mr. Bakers, the Mr. Wagners, the Mr. Molesworth, the citizens that have been here for many years that are saying, we're still here. We want to preserve this building, and I think we need to be respectful of those citizens and the citizens coming forth with Mr. Valet that have a plan and want to do that plan. And I asked him specifically that night, he was up here presenting, if you go through the steps and they come back and say that building cannot be saved, would you accept that? And he said yes. So I don't know why we're not letting that play out and give them time. I think the mayor finally doing the task force, which I thought was going to be done months ago. That's my only thing, is I thought you were going to do that many months ago, because they could then be in their steps of trying to preserve this building. So I don't understand why we as a council cannot step back, take a pause, listen to these citizens, because you all keep saying we're listening to our citizens. These are citizens that we need to listen to and let them play it out and see what happens.
Do you have a comment?
I'll make it quick because I think I've said more than my fair share tonight. I'll agree with the comments of Councilmember Galetti and what former Councilwoman or Councilmember Washenbaugh said regarding the Flatiron Building. And I've said enough, so I'm not going to get involved deeply in this because my flame suit can only handle so much heat, and I think my earlier comments have probably voided the warranty on it. So I'm not going to get involved in this one. As I said before, I voted against this. I believe, as former Councilwoman Washenbaugh indicated, it shows a sign of failure as a body if we're willing to sue each other for any reason And the night of that discussion, I had some discussions with a couple people, and they agreed that, 6 months to let Larry Valet and the group, as Councilmember Galetti said, work it out, get more involved, get the details worked out, and he has agreed that, if for some reason it shows up, unaffordable, unattainable, whatever, he's willing to, it's time to say goodbye. I mean, and I'll leave this one comment too, if we thought the same way of Pine Grove Chapel, just tear it down and get rid of it, we wouldn't have that. We want to have ceremonies up there. We would not have, is Dick still, blue gold plaque up at Pine Grove?
Blue Star.
The blue star plaque and everything else. So sometimes it takes a dedicated group of people with a vision to see it. And I believe this group, and I'm willing to give them a chance. I mean, let's do money on structural study or something, or get funding or something to truly say it can or can't be, or the total cost. There is a point where it's time to just say, enough's enough, move it up the hill or something, but we're just not there yet. I mean, so that's it.
And Councilmember Munder, I just want to point out one thing you and I discussed, and I forgot to say it, and I'm afraid you're going to forget to say it.
Probably will.
Once we tear it down, we don't get it back. So why are we hurrying to tear that down? Let's let them look at it and play it out, because if we tear it down, we can't get it back.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to say one thing.
Okay.
My biggest concern with all this is, and Larry, I said it to you yesterday, I believe, you had 4 years on town council to preserve this building. Nothing was done. If the building were so historic, why only recently did the Historic Society jump on board to save it? Why hasn't this been going on for 10 years or 5 years?
Yeah, that's a fair question. So right before the pandemic, I worked together with David, and we put together an RFI, a request for information. And we had, I don't want to throw out the names of the people who responded, but we did have a couple of people respond. We sat down with them and we talked about things that could be done with the building. And at the time, nobody was willing to move the building. Nobody was willing to do we didn't even dream of going under the building with a pedestrian passageway. That was right when the pandemic hit. And once the pandemic hit, we were sidelined for months and months and months. And we're coming out of the pandemic, and here we are to address it again. I appreciate that Council President Poirier has been putting it on the agenda for months, and I was elected in November, and here we are about 6 months later, and we're down to a decision. So I would say we are moving, so.
Are you confident that the volunteer group can come back to this council in 6 months with a full proposal?
I am confident that within 6 months, they can show significant progress that would enable you to figure out if they're legitimately moving forward on something that works or not. I would say if you want a definite answer, then we put out the money for the structural survey that would be needed to determine if we can go under that building or not.
Barney, what does a survey like that cost?
It really
Ballpark.
depends on how in-depth you really want to go.
Well, we need a solid answer, so
Yeah,
I'm imagining we have to go pretty depth.
I'd have to see what the scope is. Again, we've done one structural analysis. It was more of a, what you can see without actually drilling into the wall, see what you have, those kind of things. Take core samples. Take it a step further, there's, I don't have a number
1,000,
offhand.
5,000?
I'd have to talk to our consultant.
Can I ask Mr. Valet, I think, was that part of your proposal, the structural?
Are you willing to take a microphone for a minute?
Barney, you can absolutely You can absolutely say it'd be more than $1, right? For the survey, for this, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We only spent a few $1,000s on the last survey, but again, that wasn't drilling in and taking core samples.
I'm just teasing, but it'd be more than $1 for sure, right?
For sure.
Okay.
Maybe Larry has something more.
Well, we did not seek any proposals for that type of an analysis. We had the pro bono evaluation done, which was a structural assessment that was with the assistance of Preservation Maryland, and that informed the presentation I think that I gave, and that was very similar to the one that the town had done back in 2012. And what was recommended, I think, at the time from Preservation Maryland is really to assess the vision that the town would have, the use for the building, what we want to do with any type of walkthrough, any type of load-bearing requirements for the upper levels, that an engineering firm or a historic architectural firm or the two together would basically take this vision and then do the assessment with that vision in mind. So if the town had in mind building a pedestrian walkthrough that would be, carry a heavy load or be paved underneath, then they could come up with that type of assessment and an architectural plan, perhaps at the same time. But no particular costs were discussed, and I'm not an engineer, so.
Comment?
Go ahead.
So, and I was there because of my interest in the Flatiron Building and its disposition, what was gonna happen. I attended the second Preservation Maryland meeting where we did the walkthrough. I was with Larry and Barney. And I asked the Preservation Maryland engineer that specific question. I said, so, because I saw what he saw. It was a very poking a screwdriver into the wall and saying, oh, look, there's a little decay there. It wasn't really a assessment. I said, what does it take to do a real assessment? He said, well, it will cost you money. He said, you'd have to get a contractor or you'd have to pay us because you need to, he said, for example, you'd have to drill a borehole down along the side of the foundation so that you could get down there and take core samples of the foundation to look for real structural analysis. You have to get up on the roof, peel the roof back, take samples of the beams and stuff. Same with the brick. So the point is, a real structural assessment is going to involve sampling, access to take the sampling, laboratory analyses, et cetera. So it'll be more than $1 for sure. And to me, if you're going to do that, I am at where I'm at with the safety issues. If this building is going to sit for months upon months, even from today, I am asking you to fix the sidewalk in front of the Flatiron Building, and you got to remove those parking spaces because you've all recognized that you have safety issues with Main Street. So if it's going to take you more than 3 months to do anything on that building, you need to take action on those parking spaces and fixing the sidewalk. I am hesitant to spend any more town tax dollars to do any more assessments. So any plan to do any kind of assessments would have to be done in a different manner. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right. I don't have any comment. I just want to vote. All right, so this is council approval to seek outside counsel related thereto, the Flatiron Building. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Nay.
Nay.
That was everyone?
No, I abstain.
Okay. 4 nays, 1 abstention, whatever. Sorry. All right, so Mayor, this gets to our next point of compromise, if you don't mind, sir. I want to make this before 11 o'clock, before I hear an 11 o'clock vote about doing. So there was This is my idea of a compromise to you. This can be a brief conversation. Like I said, I don't want this to go on for too long, so if we're able to compromise, then so be it. Obviously, I would like for a structural analysis to get done on the building. I need the structural analysis to be completed by a third party. I would like for Barney Quinn to be the third party to us, and he can communicate to the task force, to you, and also the council. I would like for the task force to be added to the agenda. And I would like monthly updates from the task force, please. This may not be feasible, and I'm willing to work on a date. What I'm not willing to work on is a 2 to 3 year deadline to find out anything. I need it done, but that's because how I feel about the building. If we're able to get any information about the structural analysis of the Flatiron building, I'm proposing 90 days, but like I said, I'm willing to work. I'm not okay with 1 year or longer. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. 90 days, I think, is too tight by the time you send out a RFP and get all that done.
Okay. And I'm willing to compromise, but I don't want to hear a year.
Oh, I hear you.
Okay.
Council President, can I ask you a question?
Let me just get through this, please. And lastly, to the point of Councilmember Demoter's point, that taxpayer dollars not be presented to be used for the structural analysis. However, what I am willing to compromise is that if a grant is written for the structural analysis, that if we need to use taxpayer dollars to speed up that process, that the grant would still be completed. And if we're able to, I would say, like, reimburse the account, I don't know if that can even work with a grant per se.
Most grants are reimbursable.
Yeah, the problem is doing the grant application and then being awarded the grant, which is not a guarantee.
I understand.
And then, I mean, we can do it in 90 days. There's no way to write a grant, have it awarded, and be ready.
Okay. All right.
And I'm not sure what the timelines of the grants are. We do know that Preservation Maryland has offered up pretty openly a $10,000 grant that we're pretty sure we can get.
Okay.
But as long as you're not, I get it, not a year. It may take 6 months. I could see this group needing to do some fundraising and needing to
Well,
do
I think
some.
the assessment of the building is kind of on us, right? Like, not necessarily the group, meaning we.
Or is that what you're?
Right? That's what you're kind of talking about?
What-
I was not.
What were you talking about?
That the structural assessment,
Be done by the volunteer or the task force.
so no, that's okay. That, at least in my eyes and my vision, if it doesn't make sense, that's fine. That they would write the grant for the structural assessment. Barney be put on as the point of contact, so that when or if the grant be awarded, that they are communicating with Barney on the structural assessment. But the grant from that would come from
Yeah, I guess where
the
my confusion
the
was,
group.
Barney mentioned we'd have to put out RFPs, which to me, it sounds like we'd be hiring a structural engineer.
That's what, Thank you, Councilwoman. That's what I was trying to figure, because I don't want Barney to be in the middle of assessing the building. That keeps him out of the fray.
I never said that.
No, I'm not implying it. I'm just saying the point of contact's fine. And and I think just in my eyes, that structural assessment, are we talking about something that we, like, similar that we've had, or full-blown, like?
We're not poking a pen at a
Okay,
wall.
when structural assessment I was thinking of something different, because we've used the term assessment before.
So what we need to find out with Larry Valet's plan and the building of an arch and the design features that were presented to us are even feasible.
Okay.
And I can't do that to figure out if putting an arch through a building, right?
No,
That's what I'm looking for. I understand that timelines and deadlines are some things that are out of our control, and that sort of goes along with adding them to the agenda so that we can get updates.
I can offer, what you're saying is fine, but maybe rather than tying you into your compromise right now, what if, we're going to have a meeting on August 11th. How about I get together with this group, we figure out what grants are out there, and the key question that I think you want answered is, can we do an archway and go through the basement of the building? And if we can't do that, then, we're in trouble.
But we need a structural.
Exactly. Yes, and so what I can do is come back next month with an answer as to how to go about getting that structural analysis that verifies if we can even implement the plan to go through the basement for pedestrian access.
So before you make your comments, I can send what I have written up.
Okay.
Mayor, and when you do meet with them, if we don't necessarily come to a strict agreement tonight, present what I'm offering to you and to the group, so that everyone is aware of, I don't want to call it my compromise. I spoke to a couple of the other council members and tried to include their ideas as well. And this is sort of what we're looking for. And if you can come back to us next month, you would have already had at least one meeting. We would love to hear whoever's going to be a spokesperson to that task force, and then start getting updates from there.
Okay. All right, that's fair enough.
Councilmember Demoter.
So to reiterate, to me, some guiding principles for this structural assessment would have to be totally independent. It can't be associated with Preservation Maryland. It has to be totally independent of any party. It cannot be of any cost to the town and taxpayer dollars. It cannot. Larry, it's not, I think you're framing this in a way, it's not to see if we can do an archway and have a walkway through. It's the overall integrity of the building as it currently stands in terms of the foundation, the roofing, everything about the building. That's what a detailed structural assessment would provide. And to me, it can't take 6 months. This has to be done before the next election. This has to be done before next May 3rd or whenever the election is. We need an answer on this, and we need to resolve this before the election so it does not become an election issue. We're going to make a decision on this, so this can't take 6, 7, 8 months. It has to be done like by the end of January at the latest.
What is your fear of it being an election issue? And I'm not disagreeing with the time frame, but for gosh sakes, it would seem like this is the perfect election issue.
I understand. I think there's a...
But I'm not pushing for it.
I think there's
I'm just telling you.
I know. I think there's a strategy afoot, and I'm just saying, this is what I'm saying I would like to see as a council member, and I've laid it out.
Okay.
All right, I will send you what I have in all good terms.
The selected chairman, whoever it may be, will be here at the council meeting in September.
Could I just ask one question? You were, just clarification, you said I've heard structural assessment, structural analysis, and structural survey.
No, full-blown.
Full-blown, we want to know, is this building structurally sound?
Yes.
Right? So which one do we want? All the above. We just want to know all of the above. Okay,
I
thank
like
you.
detailed structural analysis.
Thank you.
All right. I'll add that.
And again, I want to reiterate, and what do you need me to do? Write a letter? Do you want me to go to the state of Maryland? You want me to go to Carroll County Planning? If that building's going to sit for more than 2 or 3 months, I am asking you to address the safety issues, because I believe they are serious safety issues, and you need to address them now. And we can talk offline about that.
No, I do hear you, but you are 1 out of 5 people at the table, and I don't discount what you're saying, but, you know, we'll do what we need to do to make it safe for everyone.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for listening. Appreciate it. And you're actually up next, sir.
All right, thanks. Report for the month. It was kind of a shorter month, so I didn't attend as many things, plus the airline world has me flying a lot more. So I'll read through some of the comments that I have on here. The Mount Airy Senior Task Support Group, MASS, is now running their shuttle not just from the senior center to the farmers market, but also from the American Legion parking lot. So they're going to do a loop. If you're on the Frederick County side or even the Carroll County side, you can park at the American Legion and ride the shuttle and not have to worry about parking downtown for the farmers market. The Historical Society is hosting tours on the evenings of August 19th and 20th, featuring historically horrific stories throughout the downtown district. The event is called Murder, Mayhem, and Mystery. I think Larry Valet, who just left, is a person who's going to be emceeing that. For tickets, hit the www.historicalsocietyofmountairymd.org. The Mount Airy Miles, sponsored by the Rotary Club, is August 13th. The race will begin somewhere near the Bank of America building. They're up there measuring out 1 solid mile right now and finish at Liquidity Ale Works, the old bank building. The Rotary Club and MAVFC's 3rd annual duck race sales are underway. The race is on September 18th. It runs like a raffle, only you're using small rubber ducks that race down a waterway. And it's a family-friendly event. And the carnival is this week. Parade is August 4th, so please attend and support the event for the Volunteer Fire Company. Melissa Thorne, Director of the Community Development, is working on the application for renewal of our 5-year Sustainable Communities Action Plan. She has formed a work group of local citizens, business owners that will meet on August 25th. So if I'm looking at you council members to check your calendar for August 25th. That's the night that they're going to get together and fill out the application. Essentially, it'll be an application that Melissa puts together, and it'll just be this action group that verifies that it's all good. So this is an opportunity for a council member to jump on as a liaison to that group if you're interested.
It is an MML meeting night.
Hmm?
It is an MML meeting night, just be aware.
Okay. All right. Anyway, this program allows for the reception of neighborhood revitalization grants such as the community legacy grants. Okay, as I said, the Flatiron Task Force will have its initial meeting on August 11th, 7 p.m. here in Town Hall. The purpose of the meeting will be to designate members, select a chairman, and establish the initial steps to renovate the Flatiron building and return it to useful service for the community. And of course, we will discuss the potential compromise on that and the detailed structural analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Board of Recreation and Parks.
Yep.
Councilwoman Reed.
The last Recreation and Parks Board meeting was July 21st. Ashley Collier at the meeting presented a video she created to help promote Rails to Trail West. Construction is expected to begin this summer with a grand opening date of summer of 2023. The trail will connect 500 residents to downtown Mount Airy. The trail will include art and educational opportunities related to nature. She came up with a fantastic idea. There's a few dying trees back there that are going to be carved into animals. The new trail will add 0.6 of a mile to our current trail. Is that correct, Larry? Okay. The last Windy Ridge Trail Day was July 21st. Volunteers are still out there clearing the bike trails. Just a reminder that volunteer hours translate to a monetary value related to the RTP grant that the group applied for. To notify the community, June 1st through August 31st is a statewide burn ban. It does not include campfires, grills, or fire pits. I believe it's just open fires. Yeah. This is kind of informational. Apparently at Prospect Park, there was a fire in a trash can around July 4th related to fireworks. So the Parks Board wanted me to remind the community, one, that fireworks are illegal and not allowed in town parks. Rails to Trail East is still closed with a construction completion date, hopefully by October or September. I'm hoping the trail will be done by Oktoberfest. The trail is very popular. Fencing at Twin Arch Soccer Field is expected to be installed by the end of the summer. The fencing at Prospect Park was installed around the basketball and pickleball courts. Some ongoing summer events include the summer concert series and Art in the Park. For more information, visit the town website. An update on the Weed Warriors scheduled for August 19th. The event has been canceled due to the heat. They're hoping to reschedule for September. Camp night is scheduled on August 13th at Watkins Park. I believe the information on that is also on the website. Just a quick update. The board has been trying to find a solution to temporarily line the tennis courts at Watkins Park to see if tennis and pickleball can coexist together. The first option was tape, and it did not work. So the board is exploring other options and reaching out to some of the avid pickleball players around town for some input. The board and local youth athletic leaders began early discussions relating to fall field allocations. And just a reminder, the Mount Airy Oktoberfest is September 24th. We are currently looking for sponsors, volunteers, as well as unique vendors. So if anyone's interested, go to, I think it's mount-airy-oktoberfest.org for more information. My co-founder is standing back there and
Webmaster.
He's my webmaster, yep. Our next meeting is August 18th, and we are still meeting virtually. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Moving on to EDC and Planning, Councilmember Munder.
All right, EDC meeting was held July 27th at 7 p.m. One of the things that happened was MAPD Corporal Mike Ginevra, thank you, came. He is the liaison for the businesses and the new community engagement person. So he came up and gave us an update of the happenings with businesses and the police force. And he's made a request several times now that if people are interested in talking to the police, please come to the EDC meetings, because he will be more than happy to listen to your ideas for better community engagement. And also any businesses that are interested in learning what the MAPD has to offer for them, please come to our meetings also for that. I have had one business says so far that they did enjoy him coming in to them and informing of him of the happenings and things of that nature. One of the discussions that now Secretary Donna Marie Needle put out there was a list of businesses that have gone by the wayside in town. It covers 20-some years. So we're going to start looking at that and try and figure out why they went out. Is there something the town can do to better retain them. Some of them were just, general end-of-life business plan. There are some, but we would like to know that, so we'll be working on that. I was going to go over several things, but a lot of it was covered, so I'll try and make it quick. If people do not know, there is a new event downtown here on Mondays. The best I can say is Food Truck Monday in the rail yard from 4 to 8. It is put on by, I believe, Ellie at Blossom Baskets, Cheryl Cates from State Farm, and I believe there's one other business, so please. Jessica Snowballs, thank you. Putting that on, so please come down here on Mondays from 4 to 8. They normally have a Facebook post or something to say if it's been canceled or something due to the weather. I believe some people have noticed there's now a block party here on some Friday nights hosted by the Mount Airy Commons. I'm not sure we weren't sure if it was every Friday or every other Friday, or no one really know, but also check their Facebook or stop into one of the businesses, Mount Airy Commons. I'm sure they can tell you. The Welcome Home program is still going on. There were couple other grant programs, but I want to hurry this up, so that's that. Would like to shout out that the farmers market is still going on. It is a big success this year. It's running through September 28th, Wednesdays from 3 to 7, so please come down and enjoy the farmers market. They have a lot of variety this year. And also the upcoming event for Mamza Main Street is a couple weeks away for August. Wine and Cheese on Main Street. It is a ticketed event, so please check out the Mamza website for tickets. There will be wine and cheese for purchase individually. I believe Alice Raskin doing it said that this year we will have Miscellaneous Distillery making some cocktails, hopefully. And I believe Liquidity Ale Works will be there offering samples, hopefully. So we'll wait to see. So if you want to taste some of the new ales that are coming downtown, please come and see if they're there. The next meeting will be August 24th at 7 p.m. here in Town Hall. For Planning Commission, it was held July 25th here in Town Hall. Before I forget, I would like to mention for the other council liaisons to please mention to their respective commissions to review the current master plan and submit any changes or goals or objective that they might want to include in the update that we're just beginning to work on. We are having a master plan workshop currently scheduled for August 11th from 6 to 8. Please check on the website for the location to be determined at this time. I'm not sure of what the agenda will be. We had the plan is for Frederick County and Carroll County come and do a presentation. We had a presentation or discussion regarding Twin Arch Business Park Lot 15 or King Sports. I'll get back to that. This month, August 29th meeting, we will be hearing or discussing an Annex Resolution 2022-45, which is a full property, which is approximately 8.3 acres located off of Buffalo Road next to Summit Ridge Park. We currently reviewed, Chapter 1 of the scheduled update, and I would like to address some concerns on this since I mentioned some changes and I got commented on for it. Chapter 1, every 10 years, the state requires the town to update the master plan. We are at the beginning stages of this update. We've held some workshops on rezoning requests. Now we are beginning to look at the current chapters. Part of the process is basically we bring forward the plan from the previous year. And the town planner will add some wording, some numbers to it just to try and get the process moving. So even though it says it might have 2023 to 2033 in there written, the plan hasn't been decided on. There is no final plan. It's still draft form. And part of the process, as I said, is bring the old plan forward. The old plan might have been done the same way before. old language was brought forward. So part of this process is updating the wording and language in it to make sure it's relevant for the conditions that faces the town now. So some things that were in there, the old plan might not be relevant, so it will be changed, altered, added to. So as again, we are in the preliminary phase, there's not even a draft form yet. So please be patient, please stay in touch, be involved. I did have a comment from a citizen out there that wording that is what I wanted to say, and I will include it in the update. It's good, it does. So please bear with us as we work through this process. There will be changes. That's just part of the update system. Next planning meeting is, let me see. Oh, it's 2-page. John, when is the next planning meeting? I left that page at the house. 25th at 7 p.m. here in Town Hall. I do, 29th, sorry. I left my other page 2 of the agenda at the house. I did forget one thing. I'm sure everyone notices that there is a carnival going on right now at the Fireman's Carnival grounds, so please attend. And also, the Fireman's Parade will be down here.
That just popped up. You might want to read that. Farmers Market, sorry.
Oh, okay, thank you. Mount Airy's Farmers Market. Check it out. Vote for the Mount Airy Main Street Farmers Market as the Frederick News Post 2022 Best of the Best. You have through Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022 to cast your vote. So please search it. It looks like it's hashtag vote, hashtag Frederick News Post, hashtag 2022 Best of the Best, and just vote for the Mount Airy Main Street Farmers Market. We would love your vote to make sure we're considered one of the best of the best. All right, cool. Thank you, Councilwoman. So that is that. And the parade will be Thursday night down here in downtown. So please come out and enjoy it. Thank you.
Next up is, are you okay? Next up is Streets and Roads Commission and Beautification Commission, Councilwoman Galetti.
You can, but that's not the order, I don't think.
I skipped Recycling and Sanitation Commission and Main Street Safety Task Force, Councilmember
This is the
Demoter.
second time you've done this.
Sorry.
All right. Recycle Sanitation Commission. No meetings were held. Our next meeting is scheduled for September 21st. It's at 7 o'clock. Upcoming yard waste dates are August 13th and August 27th. Main Street Safety Task Force. I've been working to organize a meeting on August 2nd, tomorrow, with the Maryland Department of Transportation and with Mr. Andrew Radcliffe and his team. Andrew is the District 7 engineer, having purview over Mount Airy. He will be bringing his deputy district manager, his assistant district manager, and the Traffic East team leader. So we hope to have a very productive meeting. The objectives are to build a working relationship and highlight Main Street safety current issues, as well as increasing safety pressures from the changes that have occurred over time and on the horizon, such as Green Tree and Center Street, the traffic circle, the Beck development, et cetera. We're also really going to focus on exploring the process for how to go about changing the speed limits on Main Street. For example, to potentially make it all 25 or some other option. So the mayor, the town administrator, MAPD, and representatives from our Main Street Safety Task Force and Streets and Roads will participate. Secondly, we have a Main Street Safety Task Force webpage up and running, so please visit that webpage. You can report speeding and safety concerns, get information on meetings and activities, and if you want to join the task force, let us know. We will likely have a meeting, I'm proposing, we'll probably have a meeting in early September, and as I mentioned earlier, at that time, we'll hear from Officer Brooks on an integrated tactical plan for utilizing all the extra resources we got for this year's budget. And I want to thank the council members for supporting my requests in terms of extra patrolling time, resources for educational materials, a Safe Streets Initiative campaign, and these radar signs, which are going to add awareness of drivers. So he's going to come and say, here is the plan that I would put forth utilizing all those resources, speed studies, the whole plan. And one of our key guiding principles is we always want to measure effectiveness. So we will be designing it in a way that we can see if these things are effective or not. That is my update. Thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Galetti.
Yes, first I want to point out, staff has asked me to mention Celebrate Mount Airy event on Saturday, August 27th from 5 to 8 downtown. So go to the town website. I won't give you all the information. It's on the town website. Beautification, I'll make it quick and I'll cut a lot of it out since it's late. Met on July 29th. They're always working around town to weed, replant. Working with Parks and Rec, they just got, I think it was a $1,000 grant to plant oak trees at Windy Ridge. They're going to work with Parks and Rec to make sure they're not on the trail and where they're clearing for the bike trail. You can follow them on Facebook. They do have some openings if anybody wants to volunteer. They're planting, weeding, taking down dead trees. They're starting to discuss this year's Christmas ornaments, so stay tuned. Next meeting, August 16th here at Town Hall, 7:30. Again, that's on the website. Streets and Roads met July 26th via Zoom. I apologize to anybody that was trying to watch us on Facebook. There were technical difficulties, and we were not able to go Facebook Live, but we're trying to find out if the recording is somewhere, and it will be put on Facebook. But real quick, Streets and Roads, update from Officer Brooks. Mount Airy Police received a $1,000 grant from the Maryland Highway Safety Office to help enforce pedestrian safety measures at intersections such as Main Street and Farmers Market Crosswalk, the crosswalk here in front of Town Hall, the raised crosswalk where the FCPS bus stops are on Rising Ridge. So thank you to MAPD for getting that. And the car seat safety check that was held June 1st, we did discuss that. It was very successful. Thank you to Sherry Cates of State Farm, Lucy Regal of Streets and Roads, who did all the work to make that happen, and the Carroll County Health Department, along with the Mount Airy Police Department. It's staying on our agenda because hopefully there'll be another one in September, so watch for that. We also have been working on a town boundary map to go up on the Streets and Roads page, so it's very clear to residents or potential residents where our town roads are. I clicked it tonight and there's a little technical difficulty, so hopefully by the end of the week, anybody can go up and click and see the actual boundaries and why we can't do speed studies and traffic calming on towns that don't belong. Next meeting, Tuesday, September 27th at 7 o'clock. Hopefully, we'll be back in Town Hall if that Facebook Live component can happen so that we have the live and recorded component. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Council President. One quick mention for the Planning Commission. They asked me to bring this up again at this meeting. For the August Planning Commission meeting on the 29th, they would like council members to attend and provide comments on what was incorrect on the recently rejected or not passed community, commercial, and neighborhood professional ordinances, so they can do any alterations that are needed to better ensure passage when they come back to the council. So please show up, because if we have to change it, it might hold up the master planning process. So try and attend and at least offer any type of comments that can help us along with the passage of these ordinances back when they come back to the council. Thank you.
No problem. Water, sewer, and Mount Airy sustainability is myself. We've been off for several months, so we actually have a meeting this Wednesday. And then sustainability will have its meeting on the 17th. So I will have my full report back next month for September. Town attorney report.
I'm going to spare you a town attorney report, given the hour.
Appreciate it, thank you. You've been given the town administrator report, code enforcement, and zoning. We do have a closed meeting this evening to consider the acquisition of real property for public purpose and matters directly related thereto, Woodville Road. After that closed meeting, the town council will be adjourned. Councilmember Demoter.
Aye.
Councilmember Munder.
Aye.
Aye. Councilwoman Reed.
Aye.
Councilwoman Galetti.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.